And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Branlund versus Evans. Step forward, please.
19-year-old makeup artist Sarah Branlund is suing her ex-best friend, 19-year-old Angela Evans, for the return of her makeup case.
All right, this major case is all about a cosmetics case. A whole bunch of makeup. You say that you loaned a cosmetics case to the defendant. It was yours. She won't return it. She says it's her case. And Bird really cares about this. Where's the case?
The case is with me.
I'd like to see it.
Me too.
Oh. Here's the pictures. The pictures are here.
That's all you got? I'll take a look at pictures.
And it's just the one that the arrow's pointing to.
Okay. I assume that this is your business. You either sell or promote or do something with these, because these look like makeup testers. Is that right?
Correct.
Freebies given away by somebody. Tell me how it's yours. Tell me how she got possession of it.
Me and Angie both worked at Macy's, and for a selling drive, sometimes we would be able to get other things in return for selling an amount of products. Angie worked for Lancome. I worked for Shiseido. Scott, the cosmetic manager at Macy's, did give us Lancome cases because we achieved a high amount of
When you said
selling.
us, what do you mean us? The two of you?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So to be able to actually be able to take out something out of the department, we get an exit pass at Macy's. It's right here. It's the receipt showing that the foundation case and an eyeshadow case was given to me. Here's a picture of an eyeshadow case, and it describes below all the items in the foundation case, which I do still have items of that I didn't actually let her borrow because they were my...
You have to have something that shows that you're not stealing
Exactly,
anything.
yes.
Okay. And this is showing me that you didn't steal what you walked out with.
Yes.
When was this? August of '02. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And according to this picture, there are some foundations missing, and according to you lent her the foundation kit absent the stuff that you use because you use it, so you didn't want to have that out of your possession. You use it for your own personal use.
Exactly.
Okay, when did you lend it to her?
And around May of 2003, it was for a wedding that she was about to do.
Well, tell me about it.
Me and her were really good friends, and we worked together on different makeup events. And so we always tried to help each other out. And so I let her borrow the foundation case because she didn't actually have a foundation case. She has a blush, lipstick, and other, etc.
When did you ask for it back?
It was actually after the argument that we had. We had a very, very bad argument. It was just kind of like girl stupid stuff, I guess. And we were at her house when we had the argument. I drove off very mad. And then when I realized that when I drove off that she still had my foundation case, and so I let my boyfriend call her and tell her that I would like that back, and we can also exchange clothes, that me and her sometimes borrowed clothes from each other.
This is the boyfriend?
Yes.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Hans Swanberg.
When did you call Miss Evans?
On the night that they got in a fight.
Do you know what day that was?
Yes, I do. It was May 14th.
And what did you say to Miss Evans when you called her?
Well, I tried to be smooth at first because my goal was to get the makeup case back.
I asked you what you said to her.
I said that I understand that you got in a fight, and I'm sure you guys will get over it because they've had fights in the past and they always get over it. And I said, I understand that you have some items of Sarah's, and I said specifically the makeup case, and she said, yes, I do have that. And then I also said that Sarah has some of your items too, like clothes, and I asked if she wanted to meet to exchange those items because Sarah did not want to go meet her because they had gotten in a fight and she did not want to see her.
And what did Miss Evans say?
She agreed to meet the following day, and I was to call her sometime when I was at work and discuss when we were going to meet that night.
And did you?
I did.
And what happened when you called?
Her friend answered the phone, and she said Angie wasn't available, at which point I heard laughter in the background, a female voice and a male voice, and then they just hung up.
Okay. Is there any other evidence that you want to present
No.
to me? Good. Perfect. Sit down. Now I'll hear you.
Okay. As she said, I worked for Lancome. She worked for Shiseido. We were getting new tester units in, so my manager, whom I have here today, Connie Noel, divided the tester units between myself and another coworker of Lancome. Not Shiseido, because they usually don't cross-sign out products to different people. And so I took them home, and I use them for different events, such as weddings, and I've done like a photo shoot and stuff with them. And basically,
Why looking at me?
I let her borrow the foundation unit.
Tell me how that happened.
Well, she said that she wanted to borrow the unit, and I said, yeah, you can have it for a period of time. I gave the unit to her.
When was this?
That was about a month after I took the units home, around September.
And when did she return the unit to you?
I got it back. She had it for a while.
Yeah.
I got it back the end of April, because I did the wedding in July. It was my cousin's wedding.
You want to say anything to me before I ask her any other questions?
Sure.
Tell me your name.
I'm Connie Noel. As her manager, I professionally dispersed them. She got them put together, and I told her...
What do you mean she got them put together?
Well,
what
we
is
had
that?
them in the back stock area, and I told her to get them together, the ones that she wished to take, and that she should take them up to her car. So she took them out to her car.
Which testers did she take out to her car?
The 5 that are showing on the picture.
And which ones did the plaintiff take?
I didn't give her any.
Why is that?
Well, she doesn't work for Lancome. She worked for Shiseido.
And these are all Lancome products?
Correct.
Interesting. Becomes a little more complicated. Why would they give you Lancome products if you work for Shiseido?
I understand that Scott did give us these units without Connie knowing, actually. I don't think he wanted her to know that Lancome things were going to other people.
Scott worked for you?
He was the general cosmetic manager, so he was my manager also.
He was your manager also?
Yes.
Have a seat.
He didn't work there.
Now it's getting better. So it's like a puzzle. Miss Evans, you got this back in April. Did you continue to be friends and work
yes.
together?
Yeah.
In April?
Mm-hmm. We were friends up until... Can I give you a little briefing?
No.
No.
I just want you to answer my question.
Okay.
Were you friends in April?
Yes.
When she gave you back the tester unit?
Correct. Yep.
Miss Evans, let me tell you what I think your problem is. At least your problem with me. It is clear to me from the photograph that you presented to me that a substantial number of products are missing. Makeup is missing. And if I were going to do a wedding, I would want to make sure that I had all my products with me from the tester, just in case I needed them. You got this tester back in April, and you continued to be her friend in April up until May, when you had an argument about something else wholly unrelated to the tester.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
It would be common sense for you to say to her in April, I need all the makeup back just for the purposes of doing the wedding, and then I'll give it back to you if you want it. But there was no discussion about that, Miss Evans.
Well, actually what I did is there's a lot of doubles, duplicates of the, like, Ivory Zero is a foundation color. There can be 3 of them in there. And what I did is I took the units to the house and did like a test run on the ladies, so that if I needed those products, I could ask her for the products back. I did not realize that they were gone. I honestly
Well,
didn't,
I'm not a cosmetician. I realize they're gone.
When you get testers, they're not necessarily all there, because they've been on the counters for about 3 years. I mean, people walk by the counters, they steal different. They're not. It's not fully stocked, is what I'm saying. When I took it out, there wasn't every single color in there.
So what you're telling me is these were incomplete testers that already had been used. Is
Correct.
that right?
They were on the counter for at least 2 years.
At least 2 years.
Uh huh.
So then my question to you is, why are you people bothering me?
That's my question too.
Quite frankly, I don't necessarily believe you. Her story sounds far more plausible than yours. And I don't think, with all deference to you, that you know what's his name?
Scott?
Scott did with all the testers. There's certainly some credibility that I hear in his voice when he says, I called her and said, let's make an exchange. She has some of your clothes and you have the tester. So I don't necessarily believe you. Do you understand? But that doesn't mean that you're entitled to $850, because you didn't spend $850. You got the makeup that you use out of the tester, is that right?
Yes.
Are you just here because you're angry with her?
No, because I would have dropped this whole thing a long time ago. It's been a lot of drama for like 2 months.
Listen to me. We're not talking about an item that you spent any money for. We're talking about something that's now at least 3 years old, that a whole bunch of people have put all over their skin, right? Because it's been out in a department store that has absolutely no value. So the $850 that you're suing for, forget it. Do you understand? All right?
The items,
so tell me what the drama is.
half the items have not been used in those cases. So when I do wedding...
Is that the drama that we're talking about? Is that what you want me to become exercised about?
No.
She used to be a friend. She's not your friend anymore. This amounts to nothing. You have to grow up. How old are you?
19.
You still working at Macy's?
No.
Where are you working?
I'm a freelance artist right now.
Doing what?
Just doing makeup events for special events and stuff like
Okay. And I assume that you have your own kit.
that. Since this, I do have to buy new foundations because half of them have been used, have been lost.
Well, if I were you and if I were doing makeup for a lot of different people, I would like nice new makeup anyway, not makeup that's 3 years old, right?
Yes.
Goodbye.
Hardy's Arts Start Room, please. Hello. Okay. Your Honor, this is case number 188 on the calendar in the matter of Norrie versus Hathaway. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
All right, Miss Norrie, you owned a car.
Yes, I did.
Do you still own it?
No, I don't.
You allowed your boyfriend to drive the car.
Yes, I did.
Your boyfriend's name is Shane.
Yes.
According to what I've read here. And this would be Shane.
Yes, Your Honor.
Shane and the defendant went for a ride. The defendant somehow, after Shane went to sleep or whatever, went to a party and he wasn't in the shape to go home, the defendant decided to take the car, according to you, without Shane's permission and drive home.
Yes, Your Honor.
He wrecked the car.
Yes, he did.
And you want him to pay for the car.
Yes, I do.
Mr. Hathaway says, it's not my fault.
Correct, Your Honor.
All right. Now, Mr. Hathaway is going to explain, not only to me, but he is going to explain to Officer Petrie Hawkinsbird how someone who was the sole driver of a car, who wrecked it, can establish to our satisfaction that it was somebody else's fault.
Okay.
Okay? Is that fair?
That's fair, Your Honor.
Very good. Step up here, Shane. Now, you borrowed the plaintiff's car when?
January 16th.
And what did you borrow the car for?
To go to Bridgewater State College. We went up there to visit a friend.
Did you have a driver's license?
Yes, I do.
Did you?
Oh, did I?
On January 16th, 2003, have a driver's license?
No, I didn't.
How did you expect to drive her car without a driver's license, Shane?
Ben was driving the car there to the college. And then...
When you borrowed the car from your girlfriend, did you tell her that Mr. Hathaway was going to be driving the car?
No, I did not tell her that.
Were you going to be back that evening?
No, the next morning.
Who did you tell her was going to be driving the car?
Actually, I didn't tell her anything. She just knew Ben was going to be driving the car.
Is that right?
Yes, I knew he didn't have a license.
So you knew that Ben was going to be the driver?
Yes, I did.
All interesting things that they left out of the complaint, by the way. So you gave permission for Ben to drive your car with Shane as the passenger.
Yes, I did.
So what happened, Shane?
Well, we both went to Bridgewater State College that night. We went to a party. We were drinking and stuff like that. And he asked me, he goes, can I use your car? And I said, no way. And then he took my keys and he took off with my car, and I ran out to get him, but he took off right in front of me in the parking lot. And then I waited in the parking lot thinking he was joking around. But 20 minutes later, he never came back.
Where did he say he wanted to go with the car?
To go pick up my friend Rob.
I mean, you asked that with a question in your voice.
To pick up my friend Rob.
This is not sounding true to me, Shane.
He said he wanted...
Bird, you see Bird is shaking his head?
Yeah.
You see Bird is shaking his head? We together are like a truth machine.
Okay.
You know what happens when somebody is piddling on my leg? The hairs on the back of my neck start to stand up. So I can always tell when someone is making it up as they're going.
Okay.
Because the hair on the back of my neck goes up, and I'm watching the hair on the back of his neck.
All right.
Do you understand, Shane? So we're going to start again.
Okay.
You're at a party.
Yes.
Doing some drinking.
Yes.
And
we come back to the dorm room where we were going to sleep at.
you fell asleep.
No, I didn't fall asleep.
Did you get into bed?
No.
Did you fall into bed?
No.
You were standing at the window.
No, we were in the room just talking and stuff like that. Okay? And then he took my keys and he started going down the stairs. He said he was going to leave, and I chased him, and he went inside my car. And then I was like, Ben, get out of my car. And he took off right in front of me.
So what was going to pick up a friend, Rob?
He promised my friend Rob, who lives in Providence College, I don't know, an hour away or something like that. He promised he was going to go get him that night because he talked to him.
But he didn't say anything to you about going to pick up Rob
Yes,
when he
he
took
did.
the keys.
He said, I want to go pick up Rob, and I said, no.
Let's have it.
All right. Well, Your Honor, I was asked to
Jack
drive the
Nicholson
car.
did that. Do you remember when Jack Nicholson did that? I loved when he did that.
All right. Eye contact. Well, I was asked to drive the car, so we went up there like was said before. The plan was for us to come home that night. So we went out, we went to a party, and when it was time to go home, that wasn't the case anymore. He didn't want to go home, and I started arguing with him saying, you know, I was the one who drove up here, and right now I'm the one who's driving the car, and you promised me I could go home, therefore
I'm going home.
I want to go home. And when that didn't come to an agreement, I said, you know what, I am going home. And I jumped in the car, and he said, come on, man, I don't want to leave. Let's stay here. It's the better thing to do. It's late. I said, no, I want to go home. And so I jumped in the car.
Had you been drinking, Mr. Hathaway?
I had been drinking earlier that night, and by the time it was time to go, I felt that I was sober enough to drive the car home.
Not sober enough, evidently, Mr. Hathaway. Because what happened on the way home, sir?
Well, that's also because, Your Honor, not only was it late at night, but as you can see, it was in January, and snow was covering on the ground, and therefore I made it slippery while driving. And
Whose fault is that? God's fault? The weatherman's fault?
I guess so, Your Honor.
Yes. Why don't you tell me how the accident happened, Mr. Hathaway?
Well, I was driving along, and I was coming home
Look.
down Route 1. Sorry, eye contact. All right, I was coming down Route 1, and I was on the side of the road, and I just hit an ice patch, hit, you know, black ice, whatever it may have been, and slid off into the guardrail, and the car crashed. I got it to drive a little bit farther down the road so I could make it to somewhere where I could stop and park, and then I called my mother, and she came and picked me up at the location that I was at.
Maybe that's why he wanted to stay over, because you both had a little something to drink. The weather was bad. It was snowy. It was slippery. It was icy. So that was better judgment, right, Mr. Hathaway?
Well, that was his judgment, but the judgment...
Evidently better judgment because you wrecked the car.
Yeah, but I don't believe that was the reason for the wrecking
Well,
of the
then
car.
tell me what you think the reason was, sir. You just told me it was January and it was slippery and sliding
Yeah, and
outside.
that's what I'm saying. There was ice on the ground, and that's what caused the crash. It had nothing to do with me being drunk or anything like that.
You love it, huh? What? You love it?
Too much.
Mr. Hathaway, do you know why Officer Petrie Hawkins Bird is laughing? And he usually doesn't do that. He usually doesn't have as good a time as he's having right now. He's laughing because you sound like a fool.
Yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You thought that your judgment was sufficiently intact to make the drive home.
Exactly.
The proof of the pudding, sir, is in the tasting. You totaled her car.
And later today,
I agreed to pay off her car for a Christmas present.
If you went and sold the car afterwards, what kind of Christmas present was that?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Melissa Norrie claims her boyfriend's former friend, Ben Hathaway, stole her car and wrecked it. Ben claims Melissa loaned him the car.
Now, what kind of car was this, Miss Norrie?
It was a Saab, 1992.
And it was totaled?
Yes, it was. I have the paper stating it was totaled, and I have how much it's worth, and I also have the pictures.
Pictures?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see what the Blue Book value of the car is. It's 4-cylinder.
Yes.
4-cylinder is worth $1,750. Your car had 300,000 miles on it.
Yes, or 280 something.
All right. Mr. Hathaway,
Yes, Your Honor.
you exercised poor judgment, sir. You drove the car. You had an accident. You had an accident. You had been drinking. You were told by the person who really had borrowed the car, even though you were driving, that they didn't want you to drive home. So at that point, you shouldn't have driven home. You did drive home. You had an accident. It's your fault. You have to compensate the plaintiff for that. Do you understand?
Somewhat, Your Honor. I just don't get that there was an agreement to drive home, and you're already saying that I was under the influence, and I had said
I didn't say you were under the influence, sir. I said that you had been drinking earlier that evening.
Exactly.
And you said that by the time you were ready to go home, you thought
Correct.
that your judgment was sufficiently intact to make the drive home.
Exactly.
The proof of the pudding, sir, is in the tasting. You totaled her car. Who's responsible? Her?
I guess no. I don't know.
I
Nobody.
guess not. No, not nobody. Not nobody. Somebody is responsible. And since you were the one who was driving, and you were the one who elected to drive in bad weather on an evening when you had been partying, you are responsible. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He apologized a few times, and he said that he was going to go through his insurance company and he was going to pay us right away.
It was tough to do that, and I apologized, and I wanted to take care of it in the best way I could.
It's not something you should do to your friend, really. You know what I mean? I told him not to take it, and he took it.
It was kind of tough, but I mean, it's hard to, to lose a friend after that long of a time.
I think he got what he deserved.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Weber versus Lamont. Step forward, please.
Contractor Jason Weber is suing his ex-girlfriend, Kathleen Lamont, for an unpaid loan for a truck.
Mr. Weber, you and the defendant lived together for a period of time. I think I read something about 3 years. Is that right?
Yes.
According to your complaint, when you broke up, which was recently, when was that?
It was in March of '03.
The defendant took with her a truck that is both titled and registered in her name. You claim purchased by you. The loan for the truck is in your name, and you want the money back.
Right.
Miss Lamont says that this was not a loan. Miss Lamont says this was a gift from you to her. You were living together. She came into the relationship with another car, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
You sold that car, got her another car, then sold that car, and then bought this truck, and there was never any talk about payment by her. You're only seeking payment now because you're no longer together. That's your defense.
Yes,
is that
ma'am.
right? So I'd like you to tell me first who these people are. Who is this person?
This is my sister.
She a witness for you?
Yes.
A witness who will say what?
That Kathy stated to her that I was getting a loan for her for the truck.
And who are these people?
My son and my boyfriend, Scott.
Do they have any information with regard to this case, or are they just here for moral support?
It depends on how it goes, actually. My son has been present during most everything that's happened.
I'm not interested in most everything. I'm only interested in the truck. I have a very limited focus.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Weber. When the defendant and you first began to live together, what kind of a car did she have?
She had a '97 Dodge Stratus.
And what happened to that car?
At her request, I sold it.
To whom?
A friend of mine.
And how much did you get for it?
$3,500.
And what did you do with the $3,500?
Well, he's still paying me for it. I agreed to let him give me monthly payments on it.
And then what did she use for transportation, Mr. Weber?
She was driving my car, which was a '94 Ford Probe GT.
And what happened to that car?
At her request, I sold that one also.
Okay, well, that was your car to sell.
Right.
And then what was she driving?
We purchased a '99 Toyota Tacoma 4x4 pickup.
When you say we purchased, what does that mean?
I financed it, and she agreed to pay the payment. As you'll see, I took the $4,000 right off the top of the money that was owed on the truck, on top of the payments that she made on the truck.
Explain that to me.
I agreed to give her or pay off her car for a Christmas present, which was $4,000.
Pay off her car. Which car?
The '97 Dodge Stratus. I paid
You mean
for the
when
Dodge
you
Stratus.
sold that to your friend, she had money owing on that?
No. Yes, she had money owing on it, but I had paid it off. So it was free and clear when I sold it.
How much did she owe on it?
$4,000.
Is that right?
Yes, and he paid it off for my Christmas present that year.
Is that what you did?
Yes.
Okay. Then you went and sold the car.
Yeah. She didn't want it. She wanted the 94
But then
Ford Probe.
listen to me. If you went and sold the car afterwards, what kind of Christmas present was that?
A bad one.
She got another car to replace it.
No, you said you gave her your car to drive.
I did.
You didn't give her another car. The other car, I assume, was in your
She
name.
got her $4,000 back with the 97 or 99 Toyota truck.
No. Mr. Weber, either you make a present or you don't, sir. If you say you made her a Christmas present in 2002, when you buy the truck, you don't make her another present
Right.
by deducting it. You made her a present. It was a gift. Goodbye. It's over. And what I don't understand is if you're a couple living together, I don't understand you saying, well, I'm going to buy a truck.
Mm-hmm.
Because you say, we purchased a truck. What were you driving at the time?
I had a pickup of my own.
Okay. So you bought this 1999 pickup. How many years ago?
It was last year.
Give me the date.
It was October of '02.
And in October of 2002, what were you doing for a living?
Me? I was working at a Chevron as a cashier and going to school full-time.
And what kind of work were you doing?
I'm a contractor.
Now, from October 2002 until when you broke up, which is in what month?
March '03.
Who made the payments for the truck?
She did.
Is that right?
I made 5 payments on the truck, yes, from November to March.
Well, then that sounds to me as if there may have been an agreement for you to make the payments on the truck, Miss Lamont.
I agreed to help him out financially because he said he was having some problems, and I was only going to work until I was losing my job after March because I was starting an internship for school. So
There
we
are a
knew
lot of
I was
other
only...
ways, Miss Lamont, that you could have helped him out financially. Making the truck payment was not...
It wasn't a truck payment. It was a personal loan payment that he had. I have the title to the truck. I never knew there was going to be a loan on the truck in the first place. There wasn't supposed to be one.
Miss Lamont, how much were you paying towards this loan each month?
I paid $200 a month from November to March until I didn't have a job anymore.
Payment?
$200.
Then you knew there was a loan payment. Mr. Weber, how much is owed on the truck?
Oh, $5,100.
Now, problem is she hasn't made any payments. Is that correct?
Correct.
Since when?
Since March was her last payment.
Have you made the payments?
Yes, I have.
In what amount?
$200 a month.
April, May, June. $600?
Correct.
You owe him, at this point, $600. As a matter of fact, we're close enough to the time where you're going to owe him $800. But you are not entitled, pursuant to your contract with the defendant, to get an upfront amount of $5,100. You understand that?
No.
You didn't have an agreement for her to pay you $5,100. You had an agreement for her to pay you the loan. And there was not an acceleration clause that said that if she failed to make 1 or 2 payments, then the entire sum would be due and owing. Unless you have that agreement, I'll be more than happy to look at it.
That's all I'm asking for is for her to pay the payment.
Well, she's going to have to make the payments. Right now, she owes you what you've paid, which is $800.
That works for me.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. Thank you very much. Madam, I strongly urge you to get this loan in your own name, or perhaps your current boyfriend can help you out with a loan. Thank you. Because he's going to bring you back to court every few months for money. You got it?
Yeah, this is case number 240 on the calendar in the matter of Montani versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats.
Just step up here, please. This used to be your boyfriend, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Miss Montani, this case is an interesting one, pretty unique even for me. Your daughter and the defendant's son were dating, and these 2 young people decided to go into a business together. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that business involved the purchase of a pig, a breeding pig. And what were you going to do with this pig?
We were going to breed her and sell the piglets for people to show during the fairs.
That was your intention.
Yes, ma'am.
So each of you put in how much towards the pig?
$250 each.
And when did you purchase this pig?
June 3rd.
Have a picture of the pig?
Yes, ma'am. I have a few pictures.
Now, from what I gather, the pig remained at your house, Mrs. Smith. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And did, in fact, have 2 piglets.
Had 10 baby piglets.
And each of you kept one, and you sold the others?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you sell the others for?
$100 a piece.
At that point, you made $800.
We kept 2. Each of us kept 1 each, also to eat because they were smaller than the others. They were runts.
I'm asking, you sold 8 piglets.
No, ma'am.
You sold 6.
Yes, ma'am.
So you got $600. Now, what did you do with the $600 that you got from the piglets?
Crystal can answer that. She's got it broke down into what they had done with it.
What did you do with the $600, Crystal?
$128 on feed, $50 for warmer. We bought Nick's official dress for FFA, which was $76.
Okay, so you spent the money on things involving the business with this first litter. But then you each kept a pig.
Yes, ma'am.
And then I read that you went to a fair and your pig came in
second place.
Second place. And how much did you win?
$1,100.
And you got how much?
500 something.
And you kept that money, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you kept your 1,100?
Yes, ma'am.
So right now, this is so far a really good business. This is a really good business.
And a bunch of charming pigs.
And a bunch of charming pigs. Did you see these pigs?
Oh, lovely pigs. Some BLT, huh?
Shh. Okay. Now, this lawsuit is about the fact that you two are no longer in business because you no longer are boyfriend and girlfriend. So you want your initial $250 back, right? And also some investment that your mother said she gave them for cement for the pig pen. You're not getting that back. Forget it. Let's talk about the initial $250 investment. Do you believe she's entitled to that back?
In a way, yes, ma'am, but the food also has cost way beyond that.
Just a minute. Is this pig pregnant again?
She was, but she's had another litter since then.
Really? So since you're no longer boyfriend and girlfriend, she's had another litter?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many did she have in the other litter?
She had 15, but 2 died.
Okay, so that's going to give you $1,300.
Yes, ma'am.
She's only suing for $250. You know, when you're in business together, just because you break up, that doesn't mean that she's not entitled to a fair percentage of the business. That would include a piece of these 13 piglets. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am, but that was after we had left, and that's after I was going to buy her out of her business, and that money came from my own personal money after she had left.
She left. What do you mean she left? You broke up. Just because you broke up, the business doesn't die. You still got the pig. Let me try to draw an analogy that maybe you'll understand. Let us say the two, look at me. Don't look at your mother. Look at me. Let's say the two people stop playing with your papers. Let's say that 2 people decide to go into business and they open up a restaurant together. And they each invest $5,000 to open up the restaurant. And they make their money back, just like you did. Got your initial investment back. But this restaurant really takes off. And this restaurant is now worth a lot of money. People break up. Girl leaves. She says, I want my $5,000 back that I put into the restaurant. You should say, here, take it. Because let's say your restaurant at that point is worth $100,000. She'd be entitled to half of that. Not $5,000, $50,000. Well, she invested half of the money that it cost to buy your restaurant, Miss Piggy. And Miss Piggy, so far, is worth a lot more than her $250 investment. You had $1,300 that she didn't partake in.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
$14,000 from an initial investment of $250. That is real good math. And all she wants is her $250 back. What do you think?
And later today,
he sent me a letter on March 23rd saying that I'm smart, I'm talented, I'm attractive.
I assume that you became interested in a more than professional relationship with the plaintiff. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes, Your Honor, it is.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Terry Montani says Stacy Smith and her son, 16-year-old Nicholas Link, owe for the cost of a pig.
All she wants in this lawsuit is her initial investment back. You should be very grateful, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Because in 6 months, your pig is going to have another litter of pigs. I don't know how many litters do they have in a year.
2 probably.
So let's say in any given year, they're going to have at least 20 pigs. Twice a year. You're going to make $2,000 a year. How many years can she go on and have piglets?
She can only be read about 6 or 7 times.
Well, let's see. So let's say you got minimum $2,000 a year times 7. That's $14,000 from an initial investment of $250. That is real good math. And all she wants is her $250 back. What do you think?
Yes, ma'am. That would have been paid to her when this whole thing started, but it just wasn't $250 that she was asking for. She was asking for, I think it was $475.
Right, she was. Well, I just told her that she wasn't going to get the $475.
Yes, ma'am. If that wouldn't have been there in the beginning, the $250 would have been paid straight up.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $250. That's all.
All right, are excused. You may step out.
She came in the first year at the fair higher than Nick, and the second year she got more money through the auction.
She didn't want to take the time to talk about it or discuss anything.
Her jealousy of my daughter always making better, and it caused conflict.
I don't know what she's talking about.
I think Judge Judy did a good ruling, and I just want to get on and have the same opportunity that he had in starting a business.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Arrington versus Boston. Step forward, please.
Massage therapist Kathleen Arrington is suing former client, retired attorney John Boston, for the cost of her services. John is countersuing for the cost of his services, defamation of character, and for an injury to his thumb.
Miss Arrington, you are a massage therapist?
Yes, I am.
And Mr. Boston is an attorney.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you practicing now, sir?
I'm almost retired. I still have a license, but I don't have any clients at this time.
Okay. Miss Arrington, according to what I've read, you and the defendant entered into a barter arrangement. You would provide him with massage therapy, and he would do some legal work for you, problem that you had with a phone company.
That's correct.
And it is your claim that you performed your part of the service.
Yes,
He did not.
that is correct.
And you are suing him for the value of your services because he didn't perform his part of the barter agreement.
That is correct.
Okay. And Mr. Boston says that you actually owe him money because he did provide services. He worked for many hours on your legal problem, and at so much an hour, he discounted it, so you owe him a lot of money. And in addition, he says that you weren't a very good massage therapist because you damaged his thumb, and he's had all kinds of problems, and he's had to go for treatment and therapy. He has his hand in a splint. Anyway, so this whole barter agreement didn't work out very well. When did you make this agreement, Miss Arrington, with Mr. Boston, and how did you find him?
Mr. Boston came to me for a general massage when he found that I knew how to do neuromuscular massage.
Do you advertise?
Yes, I do.
Do you have an office?
I use my home, a room in my home.
Okay. How did you find her?
Your Honor, I saw an ad in the paper, the Austin Chronicle, which said, "Enjoy a glass of wine with your massage." My regular massage therapist was out of town, so I called her, and on the 28th of December, had a massage which I paid her $130 for.
And when did you make this arrangement with regard to barter?
At the end of the second massage, on January 4th, we had been just exchanging information on both the massages about what we do and what we do in our life. And I had told him twice that I was having trouble with MCI, that I had a defective phone line. They were not giving me the refund I needed. I had lost a lot of time taken off from my jobs to be there the 26 or 27 times it took to get them out to fix the phone, which was still dead at that current time. And he suggested that we barter. He would take on the MCI problem, try and get the money back.
How much money are we talking about?
At the time, I thought about $800. Mr. Boston said that he could probably get that back, plus some money that I probably was entitled to because I had lost so much work on the 26 or 27 or 28 times they had been to my house to fix the line. So it sounded like something that he could handle. He assured me he could handle it. So the barter began, and we did the first massage in the barter arrangement on January 19th.
Okay. And how many did you do on the barter arrangement?
9 massages, 3 of them were for an hour and a half long on the barter system.
Okay. From when to when? From the 19th of January until
From the 19th of January to the last time he came in 3 times in one day on March 10th. By this time, all I wanted him to do was finish the MCI thing. He was vague about it, and I never heard from him again until he called me around March 20th. No, he sent me a letter on March 23rd saying that he liked me. I'm smart, I'm talented, I'm attractive. Then he said he didn't have time to work on my case because he says if I'm hired by cash clients, taking care of their needs comes ahead of other considerations.
Let me see the letter.
In the same thing, he also suggests an hour-for-hour swap. Not.
Can I see?
I've highlighted most of them.
So, at some point, Mr. Boston, I assume that you became interested in a more than professional relationship with the plaintiff. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes, Your Honor, it is. I was divorced 2.5 years before. I was not dating anybody at the time, and I was looking for a relationship, not necessarily romantic, but just a friend. And we did a lot of things together during that time that were social and not professional on the swap.
I assume so. I assume that that's true. I mean, I've read the letter. The letter is clear that there were some discussions prior to this letter being drafted. Is that right?
I tried to keep it as professional as possible. When he refers to, he took me to dinner, he took me to a cafeteria.
Was your case settled with MCI?
No, he walked out. He never even called.
Was your case ultimately settled?
Yes, they gave me credit for $200 and they disconnected my phone because they were waiting to hear from him.
Well, I don't know that. Do you have a letter to say that says that?
No,
okay.
I called him.
Can I see the work that you say that you did? I want to see the work, sir.
Right.
Mr. Boston, listen to me, sir. That is your entire file on the case?
No, ma'am. There's quite a bit of all the correspondence,
assume,
but that's the work product file.
No, I'm talking about the file on the case, sir.
Those are the letters exchanged between the agencies that I corresponded with, that I talked to on the phone, the Public Utility Commission of Texas, the Better Business Bureau of Texas at the state and national level, the Attorney General's Office of the Attorney General of Texas Consumer Protection Division, and then I got the top letter that you have there from their office of the MCI.
Just a second. Just 1 second. What do you get for a massage?
I get $85 an hour. It depends on the type of massage I was doing on him. It's $85 an hour.
Lawyers get more. But that wasn't your arrangement.
No, it was hour for hour.
Well, your arrangement was you would do massages and you would take care of a legal problem.
Right. I did.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay. Well, at least you tried. I mean, there's no guarantee if somebody takes on your legal problem.
May I address the court now?
I'm speaking. There's no guarantee, Ms. Arrington, if somebody takes on your legal problem, whether you pay them in barter or whether you pay them in cash, that they're going to get the result that you want. That's different from a massage. Hopefully, if you give a massage to somebody, they feel better. He says he didn't feel better. You want to get the second part of your complaint? You say that you were injured by the plaintiff.
Your Honor, it's a violation of the health and safety code, of the health code of Texas, to overtreat a massage client. Between the 4th day of February and the 12th, she did massages on my thumb. It was hurting me, and I told her. She said, I'm breaking up calcium. It's going to help. Well, it's become chronic. I've seen 4 doctors. The first one was back when I just got back from a trip to see my daughter in Seattle. That would have been early May or late April. And he said, tape it. Then I went to my general practice physician. He said, put a cast on it whenever you're not doing something that has to take the cast off, use the cast. And then I went to my orthopedic surgeon, and he examined me, and he wrote up a report of that I can submit to the court.
I'd like to see it. Mr. Boston, you don't expect me to accept this as proof that the plaintiff injured you. You have arthritis in your thumb. That's what people get, arthritis. You don't know what time he spent on the telephone finding out who to write to, speaking to someone at the Better Business Bureau, speaking to someone at the Regulatory Commission. You have no idea what that is, and there's no way for me to quantify that. Listen to me very carefully. There's no way to do that, madam. That's what happens when you have a barter arrangement. You were giving him massages, and according to you, you gave him 9 massages, and if you felt as if he wasn't doing work for you during that time, I assumed you would have stopped.
He started asking me for sex, and I didn't know how to get out of it.
You get out of it by saying, "Give me my file back." If that's true, you get out of it by saying, "Give me my file back. I want nothing more to do with you." That's what you do.
Then what do I do about the money he owes me for the massage?
You strike it and say, "I made a mistake."
I brought a copy of what I did on him. I also have...
Listen to me, madam. I am not going to say what you did for him is worth more than the work he put in on your file. He did, in fact, in his capacity as an attorney, perform a service for you. The fact that you weren't totally satisfied with his service doesn't mean that you get the money back for the massages. Just like the fact that he wasn't totally satisfied with the massages that you gave him means that he gets any money back from you. Do I make myself clear? Both of you. You made a mistake. Next time, get paid for your service. Next time, get paid for your service so that you leave us out of it. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
In the matter of Gorbach versus Dagrapont. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Gorbach, you were hired by the defendant, according to your complaint, to be Santa during Christmas season at his store or mall. Is that right, sir?
Mall.
Is this your mall? Do you own the mall?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Well, what do you do with the mall?
I operate a photo promotions company that specializes doing Christmas and Easter promotions in shopping centers.
And how long was the Christmas season?
6 weeks.
Okay. And you claim, Mr. Gorbach, that you quit.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you received your final paycheck, you were shorted in pay. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Your defense says he gave you absolutely no notice, and that caused you some damage to your business.
Correct.
When did you start working for him, sir?
I started work on November 13th.
Did you answer an ad in the paper? Is that how you got the job?
No, I had visited the mall a number of times, and one of the photographers had called me over and told me to call Mr. Dagrapont if I was interested in being a Santa Claus.
And you did?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And were your duties explained to you?
Well, the only thing we discussed was pay. I was over the phone, and he had quoted me $12 an hour pay plus overtime and a bonus at the end of the shooting in insurance.
What kind of bonus?
Well, it was dependent on the amount of money they made.
Okay, never accept a bonus based upon what somebody else tells you they're going to make. Yeah. That's not smart business. Okay, so you worked for a while, and what happened?
Well, when I first started working there, I kept time. In fact, I kept time the whole time I was working, the amount of hours I worked and the days that I worked. And when I got my first paycheck, I noticed that the pay was not $12 an hour, I was told, no overtime was included. It was only $8 an hour. So when I talked to Mr. Dagrapont about this, he told me that I had misunderstood and that he had told me $8 an hour, but there'd be $1 an hour raise every year, and at the end of 4 years, I'd get $12 an hour.
At the end of 4 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Well, this was, an oral agreement, and I figured, well, I didn't have anything to back up on, and I was having a ball. I enjoyed being Santa Claus at the mall.
Were you working at another job as well?
I had a couple of daycare centers that I did Santa Claus for, and I enjoyed doing that. I've been doing that for years.
Okay, but other than that, you had no regular job?
No, ma'am. I'm retired.
You're retired. Okay.
So I decided, well, like I said, it's an oral agreement. I can't back him up on it.
So you decided to work for the
So I decided to go for the $8 an hour.
Okay.
So about 2 or 3 days later, Mr. Dagrapont came up there and told me, Santa Claus is smiling too much. Quit smiling. I said, well, everything I've read about Santa Claus, he's a jolly old elf. I enjoyed having fun with the kids and all. And being as I was having fun, I would continue doing it. But when the job quit being fun, I was going to quit. So that ended that discussion. And then I think it was the following Thursday when I was getting ready to leave the mall, two of the people in the mall came to me and told me I was going to hear some very bad news the next day, that they had overheard Mr. Daguerpont talking to one of the little girl photographers.
All right, well, don't tell me what anybody else told you. What happened the next day?
Well, that Friday, Mr. Daguerpont was in, and nothing. He worked there about 4 or 5 hours and left, and I didn't hear anything. But when we were closing down that night, one of the little girls called me over, the photographer called me over and said, Mr. Daguerpont says he wants you to stay on the seat, the Santa Claus sled, the whole time you're here. Don't get up and go visit the children. Don't go visit the adults. You know, that'd be taken away from time. But when we're not taking pictures, that was fun. In fact, I encouraged quite a few people to come and get pictures by just going out there and visit them.
So you went out in the crowd?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Well, I stayed within the confines. We had a little fence, and I stayed within that.
But you didn't just sit in the sled?
I didn't sit in the sled the whole time.
Okay. And this was one of his employees that told you?
Yes, ma'am.
That you were to stay in the sled and not
Yes, she said
mingle.
She was informed by Mr. Daguerpont to tell me that this was the new regulation.
Okay. And you did, in fact, tell somebody that he was to stay in the sled?
As required by a contract with the shopping center.
Whatever. You did, in fact, make that statement.
Did.
I just want to make sure. So it was after that, sir, that you quit?
Yes, ma'am. I called him that night and asked him what was the reason behind this. He told me the same thing. This is a requirement of the mall. And I said, well, I told you before, when the job quit being fun, I quit. So we had a lengthy discussion. And I told him, you know, tonight's Friday, have somebody else out here Saturday.
Okay.
And I quit.
Now, when you quit, sir, on that Friday, how much were you owed?
I had 46 hours I had worked at that time, according to my schedule.
Okay, so 46 hours, and it was $8 an hour that you agreed to work for.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's $368, right?
Every day.
Okay. All right, Mr. Daguerpont, let's hear you.
Your Honor, Mr. Gorbash is a wonderful Santa Claus, and we really enjoyed having him work for us. But he has a little problem with math. I've brought the official records that are kept by the managers in the booth, as well as a copy of how he added the hours up, and I think if you look at it, you'll see that the math is incorrect.
How many hours do you say you owed him, sir?
The last paycheck, we owed him 37.5 hours.
Okay. Did you pay him?
Yes, we did.
You did pay him?
We issued him a check, yes, ma'am.
Did you ever get a check from them for 38 hours?
37 and a half hours.
You did?
Yes, ma'am.
So what did you do with that check?
I contacted Mr. Daguerpont and I asked him why I was not getting paid, first of all, for the $8 an hour that I was supposed to be getting paid, and that I was shorted hours.
Just a second, you mean he paid you less than $8 an hour?
Yes, ma'am. He cut my pay to $5.15 an hour.
Did you do that?
Yes, we did.
Why did you do that, sir? That's going to cost
The
you money.
fact that the contract, that oral contract that we had with Mr. Gorbash was one that he had agreed to work till December 24th. But he not only didn't work to December 24th, he quit 20 days early, failed to give us any reasonable time to find a replacement, even though we begged him to. And I just felt that
unilaterally cut his pay.
I felt that he breached the contract, and I was no longer required to pay the agreed amount.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Come on, listen. I wasn't born yesterday. Being a Santa Claus at this man's age is not something that you sign on for with an annuity. You don't say, well, if you're a good Santa Claus, in 4 years, we're going to give you more money.
And later today,
you left the defendant with your father's phone card.
Right.
Your father got a whopping bill.
She made $849 worth of phone calls, plus taxes and fees, which came out to $1,015.
Big talker.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Father phone card. Sit.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Department store Santa Melvin Gorbash says promoter Don Dagapont owes him for work. Don says Melvin breached the contract when he didn't show up for work.
All right, I'm going to ask you this question, Mr. Dagapont. Mr. Gorbach, I believe, based upon what little I've seen of him, wasn't doing this job for money, necessarily, because if he was doing the job just for money, he certainly wouldn't have quit. Right?
Right.
He had a good time doing it.
I agree.
He's retired. You get a pension, sir? Or,
Yes, I'm on medical retirement.
So he doesn't need these extra couple of bucks. Tell me about the $12 an hour that you discussed with him when you spoke on the phone. Did you ever say to him, Mr. Dagapont, salary is between $8 and $12 an hour?
I told him the salary was $8 an hour, yes.
You mean he's just making up the fact that $12 an hour was mentioned someplace in your conversation?
Well, I may have said that we pay Santa Clauses between $8 and $12, but Santa Claus is
That's
making
what I
$8.
just said, Mr. Dagapont.
Well, you asked me
that you pay him between $8 and $12 an hour. So he didn't get the $12 an hour out of nowhere.
Right.
Now, you did, in fact, have a conversation with him after he got his first week's pay, and he called you and said, what happened to the $12
No, he
an hour?
didn't say that.
He never called you after he got his...
He met with me personally and said...
Met with you personally. So he
where are the $10? He never mentioned 12, he mentioned 10. But he has a little problem with math, so I'm not surprised that he didn't know 10 and 12 are different numbers.
Mr. Dagapont, he had a conversation with you, and he said, what happened to the original, let's say, $10 an hour?
That's what he said, Your Honor.
And then you said, well, I told you that we paid between 8 and 12, and we're paying you 8?
No, I told him that the starting salary was at 8, but that I would throw in a $1 bonus if he stayed to the end as he agreed. Your Honor, I would have paid him whatever he asked if he would have stayed. In fact, this was a wonderful Santa Claus, and we did not want to lose him, and I didn't care what we had to pay him. He will hopefully remember me saying, Mr. Garvey, I was going to pay you the $10 an hour. Can't you please come to work like you agreed?
Why didn't you pay him the $10 an hour initially that you had initially discussed with him?
Because this is what we start all our Santa Clauses off.
Come on, listen, I wasn't born yesterday. Being a Santa Claus during Christmas season at this man's age, right, is not something that you sign on for with an annuity. So when you sign on for it to work for 6 weeks, you sign on for it with a certain salary. You don't say, well, if you're a good Santa Claus, in 4 years, we're going to give you more money.
I never said
he may
that.
be delivering in the North Pole in 4 years. Mr. Dagapont,
that was never said by me, Your Honor.
I want to tell you something, Mr. Dagapont. I find your testimony a little bit slippery, to say the least.
Well, I'm sorry
I find
to
it
hear
a
that.
little bit slippery, and I tell you that for, among other things, that you had absolutely no right, because if I believed what you said, you had absolutely no right to cut his pay unilaterally from the $8 that you said you were going to pay him to $5. You didn't have a written employment agreement with him. If you had, he would have known exactly what he was going to make, not between 8 and 12 or 8 and 10. So you decided that he had to be punished for leaving you? What'd you do with the check that they sent you, sir?
Well, I cashed it because I needed the money.
Let me see the check, exactly what it was, because you certainly are entitled to the difference.
Your Honor, if I may.
Just a second. The last check you sent him was for $178.36.
Right.
That was net. The gross was $193.13.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I don't like to deal with change. You don't mind if I don't deal with change, Mr. Gorbach?
No, it's okay. He cut dollars. If you want to cut a couple of pennies, it's okay.
Okay. Mr. Gorbach?
Yes.
Today's Christmas for you.
Thank you.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $175, which is the difference in what I consider, sir, the amount that you owe this gentleman. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you. Down in Louisiana, we don't go ho, ho, ho. You go ha, ha, ha.
He's a wonderful Santa Claus, and I'm hoping that he'll work for us in the future.
I love being Santa Claus.
And now the next case.
All parties on Restelli versus Waterstrat. Step forward, please.
21-year-old student Cara Restelli is suing former friend, 21-year-old student Megan Waterstrat, for the use of an international phone card. Megan says Cara left her stranded in Europe, and the phone card was used for emergencies.
Okay, the facts of this case, I don't believe, are in dispute. You two ladies were good friends and decided to travel to Europe together.
Yes. Correct.
And sometime towards the beginning of the trip, you received word that the fiancé of a very good friend of yours had died suddenly.
Yes.
And you felt as if it was important for you to return home immediately to be with your friend.
Yes.
Okay. Where in Europe were you going?
We were traveling all around Europe, London, Italy, and we were supposed to go also to Spain and France.
How long was the trip?
It was supposed to be for 3 weeks.
How much into the trip had you received that information?
It was 9 days.
Okay. When you left the defendant with your phone card.
Correct.
That was really your father's phone card.
Right.
Yes.
Father phone card. Sit. And according to you, your father got a whopping bill.
Yeah.
The defendant's calls, and you want her to pay for those calls.
Correct.
Can I see the bill, please?
Yes. I have a list of all the phone calls she made as well as the actual phone bills. It spans over 2 months because it went from 1 month into the next.
Have you seen these?
Yes, I have. She sent them to me in the mail.
Any calls that you question?
No, I don't question any of them.
Okay. So what was the total amount of the bill that she is responsible for?
She made $849 worth of phone calls plus taxes and fees, which came out to $1,015.
Okay. There you go. Big talker.
Absolutely.
So why aren't you responsible for this bill?
Well, upon leaving, or Carol leaving Europe, she gave me the phone card for emergency calls. And in my opinion, all the phone calls I made were for emergencies. So I feel that I don't have to pay.
Well, let me understand this. She gave you the phone card because you didn't have one. Is that right?
That's correct.
And tell me about the conversation that you had with her when she gave you the phone card.
Well, I don't really remember specifically.
Then you don't remember specifically? Then you can't help me.
Oh, I can. Well, she said, here's a phone card, so when we leave, you know, you can use the phone card in case of emergencies. And so I did tell her that I would help pay for the phone bills, but she also agreed that she would not leave me alone in Europe, and she was willing to pay $500 for a ticket home. So when she sent me this bill, like, there was a disagreement between, like, she owes me $500, but yet
What she owe you $500 for?
Because she promised she would pay for a ticket home for $500. Like,
why should she pay for your ticket home?
Because she left me in Europe. Well, as it turned out, like, she left me. It was her decision to leave me. This trip had been planned out for quite some time, and it was a major expense. And I bought a restrictive ticket and could not change the date to fly home.
You had an emergency.
Well, of course, but
just a second. She had an emergency.
Well, of course she had an emergency, but in my opinion, it was an emergency that I thought she should go home for.
Were you having a good time for the 9 days that you were there?
With her?
Yes.
Yes.
You having fun?
Yes.
It wasn't as if you were having a miserable time and not getting along and you dumped her. No, you were having a good time.
Yes.
And you had, I assume, planned this trip for a long time and wanted to continue with the trip.
Yes.
But you felt as if you had a moral obligation to go home and be with your friend.
Correct.
Excuse me, Your Honor. I also thought she had a moral obligation to stay with me because we were halfway across the world.
How old are you?
I'm 21.
Well, if you're 21 years old, madam, nobody has to babysit for you.
Of course not, but the whole reason why I went on this trip with a friend was to have, to have a company, like, to have somebody there to talk to and share the experience with. So she left. That's not fulfilling her, like, obligation to me. I mean, I went on this trip.
Well, let me ask you this question. If you lost a member of your family, if you received word that a member of your family died while you were 9 days into the trip, do you think it would have been the right thing for you to do to go home?
With my friend, yes, and I would pay for her ticket home also.
Baloney. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,015. Grow up!
Now, this is case number 271 on the calendar in the matter of Rochelle versus Martin.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. Rochelle, you were the caregiver for the defendant's grandmother.
Yes, ma'am.
Who passed away on the 31st?
24th of January.
24th of January. It is your claim that the defendant slandered you by claiming that you took some money that you shouldn't have, that was her grandmother's money.
Yes.
I think that was in Social Security checks, that because she said that you had taken those checks and you weren't authorized to at that time, the money was taken out of your account, causing other checks that you wrote to bounce. So what you're suing her for is $5,000 for the aggravation that you had and the bounce check fees, etc., and also for slandering you.
Yes.
Ms. Martin is going to explain to me what happened. She says that this whole thing is really about an insurance policy that you had on the life of her grandmother, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So let me try to place this in perspective. Okay. Ms. Rochelle, when did you start to act as the caregiver for Miss Martin's grandmother?
In May of 1999.
What was wrong with her grandmother?
She couldn't walk very well due to rheumatoid arthritis, and she's a diabetic also, so she didn't get around very well.
Was your grandfather alive at the time?
In 99, yes, he was.
So were you caring for both of them?
I cared for him also, yes.
Were you living in or just?
Yes, I was to live in.
Who hired you?
I wasn't really hired. I come here, they were my godparents. I moved here from Kansas City because I was here in December prior to May of 1999.
Oh, so you knew that they were your
godparents?
godparents?
I knew them,
I
yes.
didn't realize that.
So when I got there in December and saw what condition they were living in, I mean, adults, people shouldn't have to live like that. So when I went back home, I couldn't rest, so I came back out to try to get their home and get them in living condition, and I was going to go back home. I figured everybody else would take care of them. It didn't happen, so I was here till they both died.
So your grandfather died first?
Yes, he had Alzheimer's and other conditions.
So he had Alzheimer's?
Yes.
But not her grandmother?
No.
She just had physical problems?
Physical problems. She was very strong mentally.
Okay. And it was agreed that the Social Security checks were to be direct deposited into your account?
Well, it was agreed that that's how she would pay me, yes.
So she was paying you?
Yes, the last year, the first 2 years I worked for, took care of her, Mrs. Spivey, with no pay.
How much was she paying you?
June of 2002, she started paying me $1,100 a month. But prior to that, she wasn't paying me anything.
Oh, just a second. Now, was that $1,100 her Social Security check?
Yes.
Now, when did you leave the employ of, what was your grandmother's name?
Mrs. Alberta Spivey.
When did you leave Miss Spivey's employ?
I came home one Friday evening, and she explained to me that Monday, which would be the 28th, that she would be going to the hospital and from there to a nursing home.
Okay. Now, that you claim that she told somebody at the bank that you had stolen money or taken money. What money?
I have an affidavit with a check that Miss Martin accused me of stealing, which was a check that I received every month for Mrs. Spivey. For Mrs. Spivey.
What month?
November 1st.
Well, you weren't in her employ in November.
But she still expected me to take care of her. I was her sole provider.
No. She left on October 28th. November
Yes.
1st. You got the check. It should have been returned. Is that the check we're talking about?
The arrangement we made was that when Mrs. Spivey came to me in April of 2002, she didn't pay me for April. So when she left, by her not giving me a 30-day notice, I was supposed to keep November's payment also. That's the arrangement we made.
That's hearsay, madam. If she left your home on October 28th,
okay,
and if Miss Martin complained that you had taken November's check and appropriated it for yourself, and it was a Social Security check, then she didn't slander you. Is that the check you're complaining about?
Well, Mrs. Martin had no arrangement with Mrs. Spivey's and I arrangement, you know. I mean, there's no written document saying I get this every month, I do that, you know. I cast a check, she'll give me what she wanted.
Well, if there's no written document, then you can't take her Social Security. Her Social Security goes to her. So if that's what you're complaining about, Miss Rochelle, your complaint is falling on deaf ears. She says that this is all about an insurance policy, and I'm sort of curious about that insurance policy. When did Miss Spivey take out an insurance policy naming you as beneficiary?
She had the insurance policy in 2001, but when she came to live with me, she complained the whole time. We talked previously on the phone.
Just answer my questions. You can't tell me what she said to me. She's not here.
August, I believe, of 2002.
August of 2002, she changed the insurance policy, making you the beneficiary.
Yes.
Who had previously been the beneficiary?
Her daughter in Topeka, Kansas.
And where did she go when she changed the insurance policy? Did she go to somebody's office, or did somebody come to her?
The insurance agent, which is present here in the court, he came to our home and took out the policy.
Who was the insurance agent?
Mr. Harvey.
Step up, please. Your last name is Harvey?
Yes.
May I interject for a moment, sir?
Yes.
The insurance policy prior to August 20th had lapsed. So a new application was issued August 20th, 2002, and this is the application to which plaintiff is referring.
So in August, when you came to the house, sir, she did not have insurance.
Correct.
Had you been Ms. Spivey's insurance agent previously on the old policy?
No.
And when you came to the house, you wrote up another insurance policy and named a different beneficiary. Is that correct?
Well, I
Is
don't
that
know.
correct? That you wrote up another policy with a new beneficiary?
Correct.
Just answer my question.
Well, I didn't know who the first beneficiary was.
Who determined, Ms. Martin, that the signature on this new policy was not your grandmother's signature?
The policy issued in August 20th, 2002 is her signature. The policy was amended in November. That is the signature my mother and I have disputed with Guarantee Life Insurance. That is not her signature.
What do you mean the policy was amended in November?
Okay.
Was the policy amended in November?
It was increased.
From what to what?
10 to 15,000.
November what?
About mid-month.
I have the
Who
exact
called
date, Your
you
Honor.
to increase the policy?
Miss Rochelle.
Miss Rochelle, who is no longer taking care of Miss Spivey. Is that right?
I was taking care of Miss Spivey. I was
No,
running
she-
back and forth to the nursing home taking care of her. Yes, I was.
On November 8th, she was not in the nursing home. She was at Brotman Medical Center.
Well, I was out there also. Records can show that too.
But also, Your Honor, this policy is a joint whole life policy with my uncle and my grandmother. My uncle was incarcerated through at least January 19th, 2003. His signature also appears on both applications. I don't see how that's possible.
I don't know either, but are you still in litigation with regard to that second policy?
We were told by Guarantee that the policy would not be paid. so
And it
we
has
have-
not been paid, is that right?
Yes.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today,
He just all of a sudden started shaking the car, pushing it back and forth. Then he just swan dives on top of my roof. And I said, I'm gonna call the cops. He said, you want me off your car? Come down here and make me get off your car.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Caregiver Dorothy Rochelle claims her deceased client's granddaughter, Joyce Martin, falsely accused her of stealing. Joyce says Dorothy took out a life insurance policy on her grandmother.
All right, not so hard. Miss Rochelle, you had no right to keep in your account Miss Spivey's Social Security check for the month of November of 2002. You were no longer taking care of her. The $1,100 was to provide for her care. She was either in a hospital or she was in a nursing home during the month of November. Both of those facilities were entitled to a piece of her Social Security check, not you. Ms. Martin.
Yes, ma'am.
She has a very simplistic lawsuit here. Her lawsuit says that you accused her of stealing money, of using money that she wasn't entitled to.
Correct.
And I've just told her that she wasn't entitled to that money that she had in her bank account. Okay. And that if, because of your complaint, that money was withdrawn from her bank account and she suffered damages because other checks bounced, that's too bad.
That's correct.
Too bad. She had no right to keep that money. It was a Social Security check. I've answered you. You had no right to keep the money. You may disagree with me. That's your problem. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye. Good luck.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I took care of this woman, grandmother and grandfather, for 4 years. She was too good to take care of them.
The package I brought with me today are the remains of my grandmother.
That she got the audacity to take me to court when she never came around.
I had her here for moral support today.
She had her girlfriends and everything she's sleeping laying up with, but she couldn't take care of her grandmother. I did it, put my life on hold, and I'm the bad guy now.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Massey versus Walker, step forward, please.
19-year-old student Katrina Massey is suing her former neighbor, 21-year-old student Austin Walker, for damaging her car when he jumped on the roof.
Miss Massey, defendant was an acquaintance or a friend of yours, and you claim that he was acting like an idiot and a fool and dented your car.
Yes, ma'am.
Jumping up and down on your car. So why don't you tell me when this happened and tell me what happened?
This happened on May 7th of 2003. What happened was I was inside of my apartment complex in which we share the same apartment complex. I stay on the third floor.
You're on the third floor, he's on the...
On the lower level, right beside my car. Yes, ma'am. And so he calls me, he and his roommate called me to the window of my apartment, which is my bedroom. So I go to the window, we start having a regular conversation like any other, and I do know him.
What time is this?
Like around 7 o'clock.
Okay, go ahead.
So we're having a conversation, and then all of a sudden he starts like joking about my car. My car is small, and he starts joking about my car, and then he just starts shaking the car. And I'm like, what are you doing?
What is he saying about your car?
Just about, you know, how small it is, and look at this little car, and such and such and such. And he's always done little ignorant stuff and say little ignorant jokes to get my attention, because he does like me.
Because he's ignorant.
And he is. And so, you know, he does little stuff like that to get my attention. For instance, there's been times where he and his roommate both.
I don't want to hear about
Okay.
other times. Let's just stick to it. I have enough trouble dealing with this time.
Okay, well, so then anyway, he's talking about the car, and then he just all of a sudden starts shaking the car.
How is he shaking it?
Beside it, pushing it back and forth, rocking the car.
Where were his hands when he was rocking?
On the rim, like where the door would close at the top of the roof, right here. Like this, where the glass would be right here, and his hands were on the top of the roof.
So how is he pushing the car? Is he pushing the car up and down, or?
Pushing it, shaking it. His roommate was on the other side, which was the driver's side, with his hands in the same position, so the car was rocking back and forth. So then he continues to laugh and joke, and, you know, I'm like, get off my car, stop playing with my car. Then he just swan dives on top of my roof. So I'm like, what are you doing? Ah, ha, 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 laughing and joking, whatever, with his roommate, going back and forth. I got upset and started cursing. Then we get into an argument. He jumps off the car and does it again, like that, on top of my roof again. So then we have another argument. I said, I'm going to call the cops. Oh, I don't give a, you know, cursing and everything. Call the cops. Call the cops. I don't care. He said, you want me off your car? Come down here and make me get off your car. So then I went downstairs. He was still laying on the roof of my car. I said, if you don't get off the car, I'm going to get in it and pull off. Go ahead. Go ahead. I don't care. Go ahead. And
Is that what she did? She got in the car and drove off with you on top of the car?
No, I wasn't on top of her car.
Oh, okay.
He was on top of my car, Your Honor. And then I got in the car. I cranked it up. He's still laying on the car. I told him again, Austin, get off of my car. I'm not getting off the car. Make me get off the car. So I pressed the gas. As soon as I drove and he jumped off the car, I drove off.
Okay. Can I see pictures of the car, please?
Yes, ma'am. The first picture is to show you how small the car really is compared to my height and his. Then there's pictures of the dents. There's pictures of the windshield guard that was ripped off. And there was also pictures of his handprints on top of my car, in which they're huge, so you can tell that they're not my handprints at all. And when I realized that my windshield guard was broken off, I came back to the apartment complex and told him, look what you did to my car. He and his roommate.
What's this mark here?
His handprints.
This?
You can look. That was paint that was already gone. That was gone before he touched the car.
Right, I didn't think, because it looks rusted.
Yeah, that was already gone.
Okay, now let me hear your version, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Well, my roommate had picked me up from work earlier that day, and we came home. We were outside talking, like we usually do sometimes before just going in the house, and we were dribbling the basketball. And we were outside talking, and then familiar voice from upstairs comes out screaming, "What are you guys doing out there?" She always talked to us from the third window before, nothing different. So we're dribbling the ball, and our roommate was dribbling the ball, and it got away from him, and it went over by her car. And this when she was like, "You guys better stay away from my car." And I said, "No, the ball's not gonna do anything to your car." So we started talking back and forth again, and this time we were sitting there, we were actually talking to her through the window still. And since she came downstairs and we were outside, and my roommate was sitting by her car, and we were sitting by
Don't close your eyes, sir. Keep
my roommate
them
was
open.
sitting by her car. His car was parked right next to her, so we're in between his car and her car. And she's still saying, "Don't sit around my car." So it comes to the fact that I stood behind her car, my roommate stood in front of her car. And she said, "You guys get away from my car, I'm going to pull off and I'm going to hit one of you."
When did she come downstairs? She's up on the third floor.
She came downstairs while we were still dribbling the ball. She came down, just got out the window. Next thing you know, she was downstairs talking to us. So we were downstairs and we were talking still, and she tried to get in her car, and she was going to back up and hit my roommate. He got out the way. She pulled out like she still was going to hit him. Then when she went to go hit him, she was pumping her brakes, like, you know, stopping, like she was going to hit him so he can get out the way. That's when I went to the side of her car and started rocking her car back and forth. At this time,
With her in it?
With her in it, yes. The plastic strip that protected the window seal.
What were you rocking her car for?
Because she was trying to hit my roommate, and I was just trying
Well, he can move pretty fast, can't you?
Yes, ma'am.
What were you rocking her car for?
I was rocking her car basically to get her attention because she was about to hit my roommate.
She wasn't going to hit your roommate. Even he wasn't worried. He could just take a step, right, sir?
I don't know about a step, but
You could get...
I could have died.
Sure you could, right, Mr. Walker?
Probably not. She was pretty close. He's not that fast.
Looks pretty fast to me. He was playing basketball with you, wasn't he?
We were just dribbling the ball. We weren't actually playing.
Was he dribbling it standing still, or was he moving around?
Just dribbling standing still.
Mr. Walker.
It's possible. You just dribble the ball and stand still.
Mr. Walker.
Yes, ma'am.
So you start rocking her car back and forth.
And
now, where were you just a second. Where were you holding on to the car when you were rocking it back and forth?
Or she sat at the seal at the top, rocking it back and forth like this. And then that's when the plastic strip came off. She said, "Oh, you broke my car. You know, I'm gonna make you pay for that if you don't fix it." So I popped it back into place for her. So at this time, she pulled off, parked again, got out the car, said, "Well, I'll see you guys later. I'm going to pick up my boyfriend." So we stayed outside for another half hour talking. She rolled back up and said that how the piece fell off on the highway and I was gonna pay for it. And then at that time she said, "Well, it costs $113. Now it's a piece you can get at AutoZone for $15. And so I said I wasn't gonna pay for it. So I'm not paying for that. So I went in the house, went about my business.
Okay, step up. Tell me your name.
Alonzo Frink.
Tell me your story.
I had went and picked my roommate up from work, and we came home, and we was outside just talking. I was just standing around dribbling the basketball, and he's like, "Pass it to him." So I passed it, and it got away from me. Like, I passed it a little too hard, and it rolled by his car. And that's when she came to the window, and she was like, "Y'all need to stay away from my car. Stop playing around my car." And we was like, "We're not playing around your car. Nobody's gonna hurt your car." And later on, she came down, and she was just like, "I need to get away from my car before I hit y'all with it."
Why would she say that if you weren't in your car? Maybe she was hallucinating. You think so?
Maybe.
You have a crush on her?
Not at all.
Little one?
Not at all.
Mr. Walker, you can't put your hands on other people's property. Even according to your own testimony, you put your hands on her car and you rocked her car back and forth. And I find that there was no basis for you to do that because all your friend had to do was step out of the way. And you did that because you were being a wise guy. She got a little dent on the top of her car. A little piece came off of her car. It's not a big deal. It's going to cost a few $100s to fix it, if she's going to fix it at all. She certainly didn't fix the rust spots that were there for a much longer period of time, right?
It was there when I bought the car.
And you certainly didn't fix it, right?
I don't work, so.
So I don't know how much this little dent that's on the hood of the car is going to trouble you. In any event, you should be able to get the whole thing fixed for about $350, and that's what I'm awarding you, because you can't put your hands on somebody else's property, sir. Do you understand?
I do understand that,
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $350, that's all.
Now, this is case number 341 on the calendar, the matter of Corbello versus Berdino. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Ms. Corbello, you and your husband and child rented a room from the defendant. It is your claim that she owes you for rent and some property of yours that she kept when she evicted you.
Yes.
The defendant says that you and your husband were terrible to her, especially your husband, and that she really had to evict you because you were taking advantage of her, had done a series of terrible things to her, which she is, of course, going to tell me about, that she owes you no rent, and she, as far as the things that you say that she has that belong to you, she doesn't mention that at all. So do you have any property that belongs to the plaintiff?
The property that was left there was put into my garage. I informed this lady that if she would call 24 hours prior to her coming over, she could take everything she has.
Okay, so you come and take the property whenever you want it.
Yeah, but the problem is because of the way that she behaves and the way that she put this fake restraining order on me, I am horrified to go over there to pick up anything.
Go with a police escort.
Okay, that's what I plan on doing.
Very easy. Go with a police escort. If she has a restraining order against you, I suggest that you do that. When did you rent the room from her?
We began renting the room from her the beginning of March.
And how did you find the room?
My brother-in-law lived there, and my husband was going over there to help him with work around the house, and that's when he found out that she was going to be renting a room.
You say that she owes you for some rent.
Yes. Okay, can I just tell the whole thing how we even ended up here? Because we wouldn't be going through any of this if she would have just handed me an eviction notice or at least gave me notice that she wanted me out of the house, but which she did not do. That's how the restraining order came up, which was all lies.
Okay. Ms. Corbello, Let me try to simplify it, and I think that I can probably do it quickly. You moved in March, and according to your complaint, you took your son to the doctor sometime in July of 2003.
Yes.
When you took your child to the doctor did routine tests and found that the child had elevated levels of lead.
Right.
Okay? And you believe that the elevated levels of lead came from the defendant's home. So you contacted the health department.
No.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. The health department comes out, or you tell her that you called the health department, and she is appalled that you called the health department, because they're going to come in, and if she's got lead paint in her house, they're going to say to her, you have to rip out all the walls, sand down all the walls. She'd much rather have you out of there. Right?
Right.
Right. I don't know what you were looking for her to do. Were you looking for her to spend $25,000 to redo all the paint in her house?
No.
She's an old lady. She's not worried about getting lead poisoning.
I understand that,
Good.
but the agreement was when we moved in there that I was going to help her with things around the house and that she was going to have my husband renovate all the other things that were wrong with the house. I have pictures here of her house plus a report from the health department of all the things that she should have taken care of. Now, had she
Miss Cabello, you were renting a room. Maybe she didn't want your husband to take care of everything. Listen, I'm going to read her answer to you. The husband, Oswaldo Corbello, began taking checks from my checkbook and proceeded to forge my signature. On April 15, 2003, I called the fraud department of Wells Fargo Bank and canceled my checking account. Later, he had stolen my ATM card and took every penny from my account. It was Wells Fargo that notified me of such. Okay, now, I'm not saying whether that's true or not true, but clearly she didn't want your husband to do all the renovations in her house. And she didn't want to have anything to do with him. That's what her answer says. In any event, what you chose to do, instead of saying to her, listen, we have a problem here, I can't continue to rent a room from you because it may be your house that's exposing my child to lead paint. That's, of course, if you're not watching him, because children don't breathe in this lead paint that's from eating the paint chips that fall off.
But I did warn her that they were coming.
Listen to me carefully. I don't care whether you warned her or not. Instead of calling the health department, you could have come and said to her, we're going to have to move out, because unless you do your whole house, I can't stay here with my family.
I did do that. I asked her for 2 weeks. I did do that.
Just a minute, did you ask her for 2 weeks before or after you called the health department?
I told her that the health department was coming out.
Just answer my question.
I don't recall.
Of course. You already called the health department. Now, what rent money does she owe you?
I have receipts here for 4 months, $500, $300, $300, $300, and also a check for $950.
So why? Just a second. How much rent were you supposed to pay?
My rent was only $300 a month, so I was overpaid on the rent.
Just a second. You're going to have to explain to me why, if your rent was $300 a month, that you were giving her $400 a month or $500 a month. Can you explain that?
Yes.
Good. I'd like to.
The first month's rent was only supposed to be $300 plus $150.
Just a minute. How was that? I don't understand. I never heard of
$150 for deposit because we just moved in. But she kept complaining about, oh, your child needs this, and I need a high chair because I don't want him running around on the floor, and blah, yada, yada. My husband ended up just giving her $500, okay? Then the next 3 months, we ran into some financial problems, but my husband found a place that would help us pay the rent because she was harassing us so bad. So I found an agency that helps people that have problems with rent, that would help us pay for our rent until we were able to catch up.
How many months did you live there?
6 months.
The rent was $300. Even my rudimentary math tells me that you should have paid her $1,800.
We paid $1,400. The check that she received was $950, which is a total of $2,350.
Is that right?
No.
We have receipts right here. I can show them to you.
Those are receipts that he asked me to write when he was in jail so that he could obtain a check for me.
Her lies are getting bigger and bigger.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your husband beat you up so badly he ended up in jail.
No,
he was in jail.
Me up.
He was in jail.
Me
what?
Once.
Speak not.
And later today.
You want to think a little bit more closely as to why you served 90 days, sir?
Going 120 on a public street.
You were charged with reckless endangerment.
Yes, ma'am.
They still come and they think they're smarter.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Puni Curbelo says former landlord Ellen Berdino won't return her property. Ellen says Puni reported her to the health department.
When was he in jail?
May and June.
Where was he in jail? In what county?
Los Angeles.
What was he in jail for, do you know?
Domestic
Spousal
violence.
abuse.
That was committed while in your home?
Yes.
Lovely. Perfect. So what you're telling me is these receipts, I want to see the receipts. These receipts were written at his request in order to obtain this $950 check from the government.
Yes.
I'm just asking her what she's saying.
That is such a lie.
Okay. If you paid her all these months that you were supposed to, and she's lying that these weren't just receipts in order to obtain this $950 check, then the County of Los Angeles will come back against her and get the $950.
Which they're going
But
to
there
do.
is no way in the world that I'm going to give you that money.
I'm not asking
You live
for
there.
it.
You are asking me for it. You said you want reimbursement for rent. That's what you're asking for in your lawsuit. Okay, so you don't get the reimbursement for rent. You do get your property. 5 days, go there with a police officer. Pain and suffering. What? Pain and suffering.
She sent my sister over to beat me up. These are pictures. After my sister did it, she went and picked her up so that she can come and see the damage and so she can get a good laugh, which she did. These are pictures. I really would like you to see those.
Just a second.
And I really wish you would look at these pictures of this house that we had to live in. It's not fair. She's sitting there sweet and demure like she's not a
Madam,
monster.
you are
And
not
she
in
is.
prison.
I'm not
You
saying
are not.
I was there
Listen
to help
to me.
her, and we were supposed to help each other.
Are you related to this lady?
No, but I thought we were
Listen,
friends.
You're not friends. She was renting you a room.
She's
Your
a friend
husband,
of the family, though.
listen to
That's
me.
the thing. We
No,
knew each
Madam, you're not getting it. You moved into her house. You were supposed to pay rent. You moved in with your child and your husband. While you were in her home, your husband beat you up so badly he ended up in jail.
No, he
was in
didn't
jail.
beat me up. He
was in
slapped
jail.
me
What?
once.
Speak not. He was in jail. They don't put people in jail for the month of May and June for nothing. Not even in the county of
It
Los
was one
Angeles.
slap, and there was no marks when the police officer showed up.
Madam, was it the first time he was arrested for domestic violence? The answer is no, because then you don't go to jail for May and June if it's the first time that he slapped you. That doesn't happen. I sat in family court for many, many years. You're not going to get a dime from this lady. If you moved into her house and you didn't like it because it was a disaster, what you do is you, your husband, and your child pick up and leave. You're not serving a sentence, but you don't turn around and sue her. Ridiculous. And then expect this money that you got from the County of Los Angeles to be returned to you.
I'm not asking for that money.
You
I was
did.
asking for that money to be applied towards the rent. It was supposed to be for the first and the last month's rent and the deposit. That's what that was for.
No, if you can afford to pay your own rent, pay your own rent. And give the money back to the county. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye.
She is a very vindictive, deceitful person. The detective has pictures of him at the ATM. He even borrowed my car, and you could see my car in the distance. I don't think I should be inviting anyone else into my home.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lake versus Lake. Step forward, please.
Marketing rep Keith Lake is suing his son, 23-year-old DVD duplicator Jonathan Lake, for an unpaid loan to buy a car. Jonathan says he paid back his father by sending him care packages in prison.
Mr. Lake, the defendant is your son, and according to your complaint, sir, he made a loan to him several years ago for the purpose of his buying a car. He made several payments and then ran into some financial difficulty. You want the balance of your money.
Correct.
Your son acknowledges that you did make this loan. I think it was for a little over $6,000. And acknowledges the fact that he stopped making payments when he had some.
Financial difficulties with my son.
But says that you forgave the loan. And he has a very interesting theory of how and when you forgave the loan. So why don't you, Mr. Lake, tell me why and when your dad forgave this loan?
Okay, in November of, what was it, last year I believe it was, he ended up going into being incarcerated, whichever.
Not whichever. He ended up being incarcerated.
Incarcerated.
For what?
Tell you the truth, I really don't know.
For what, Mr. Lake?
DUI with injuries.
You hit somebody and caused physical injury while you were drunk.
Yes.
Was this your first DUI?
Yes.
Okay. How much time did you serve?
9 months.
So he was incarcerated.
And I had I got a call, and what happened was he ended up telling me that if I took care of him while he was incarcerated, such as care packages, when he got out, we were supposed to be square. And I turned around and I said, okay, fine. Well, he got out, and then I was told that we weren't.
How many care packages did you send him?
I sent him at least 4. There's the one.
Shh. You have receipts from those?
Actually, no, but I have a witness that was with me when I mailed them off. His name is Elliot Carruthers.
All right, Elliot, why don't you step up here? Tell me about this care package that you saw.
Sorry. Well, it's basically usual stuff like candy, cookies, and it was something about exactpackage.com.
So he didn't go and pack something. What he did was he called a company to send them to his father?
Your Honor, you can only get a package every 90 days. I didn't contact him till maybe after 4 months, 3 months I was inside. The package at the most was worth $100, and that's why I feel
What did you say to him when you called him?
I didn't call him, I sent him a letter, okay?
What did the letter say?
That, I was disappointed, I'm embarrassed that I'm busted where I'm at, and that I need him to, instead of paying me $400 a month, I asked for $200, $50 a week that I could spend there. Because he had 2. I'd also just got out of jail on a suspended sentence. He was down for 90 days.
For
so
what?
I gave him 90.
For what?
Suspended license.
Why was your license suspended?
I'm originally from New Mexico. And when I moved out here, I had one ticket that I didn't know about in New Mexico. It was for like $80. And when I drove out here, I had been pulled over, didn't know it, and he said he couldn't let me drive, and I was taken in.
Well, first of all, you were taken in, not taken in.
Sorry.
There's no such word as taken.
My mother corrects me on that, too.
Well, good. I'm glad I'm making you feel at home. And they don't take you to jail for 90 days for that, sir. Let me explain something to you. They don't take in or otherwise you to jail for 90 days because you didn't realize that you had a ticket back in New Mexico that you didn't pay. So you want to think a little bit more closely as to why you served 90 days, sir?
I was also pulled in for exceeding the speed limit, going
well, now we're getting better.
Going 120 on a public street.
That might be worth 90 days. You were charged with reckless endangerment.
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
They still come and they think they're smarter. Do you want to know why you're not smarter? If you ask Bird how many times he served 90 days in prison, you know what he's going to tell you? If you ask me how many times I served 90 days in prison, you know what I'm going to tell you? Does that make me smarter or you smarter?
It'd be you.
It would be me. And he.
And me.
So can I see the receipts for this send a care package to prison.com where you sent your father some care packages?
I was, okay, on that incident, I was married, and I had recently gotten divorced, and she had all these papers that we had just went through, and we got in an argument, and I was tossed out of the house, so I wasn't able to get any of them.
What do you want from me?
I don't know, ma'am.
How many pounds do you think these packages weighed?
They were up to 60.
What do you mean up to 60? You mean from 0 to 60?
Yes.
From 0 to 60?
Yes.
Because I read that in your answer. You said I sent him packages 4 times. Each one was 60 pounds. I said, what the hell, they sent him 60 pounds? They allow prisoners to get 60-pound packages? Right, full of candy? Are they trying to kill him?
It's 30,
Listen,
Your Honor.
What?
It's 30 pounds. It's not 60.
How many pounds of candy did he send you?
2 pounds of candy, maybe been in there was coffee, a CD player. This was one-time shot, though. That was it. But I would never say, because of that one single package, that this thing is forgotten about. I asked him to come visit me. He never did. He promised to come down, didn't. I'm a little disappointed. You know, this is my son who, I know his mother and I were divorced when he was 10, but I sent him things all the time.
Oh, Mr. Lake, I wouldn't go there if I were you, sir. I just have a feeling that I wouldn't go there, that you were Father of the Year.
No, definitely
wouldn't
not the
go-
best father in the year, that's a fact. But
I wouldn't go there, probably. Can I see proof with regard to this loan that you made him? I need your withdrawal for $6,500.
I don't have the withdrawal form.
Well, let me tell you this, Mr. Lake. I think that if you made this loan to your son, that this loan was not forgiven. However, I am not awarding you a judgment until I have received proof from you that you withdrew $6,500 from your bank. Do I make myself clear?
Absolutely.
That's the judgment of the court. Judgment for the plaintiff. You owe your father the money. With that proviso, thank you very much. Step out.
Case number 68 on the calendar in the matter of Dinger versus Green.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat.
Ms. Dinger, this is your husband's ex-wife. They have 4 children.
Yes.
So I have some preliminary questions. Ms. Green, when were you divorced?
It was July of 2004.
And where were you divorced? In what state?
Idaho.
And you are currently remarried?
Correct.
When did you remarry?
December of 08.
Is this your husband?
Yes, it is.
And where was he from?
He's from Riverton, Utah.
When you were divorced in July of 04, what kind of visitation or custody arrangement was made by the court?
Basically, he took the kids on his days off from work, which worked out to 1 week it was a Friday through until Tuesday night, and then the next week it was just a Wednesday, Thursday.
And that situation extended until what month and year?
Until we did a modification in 2007.
To what?
To more of a standard every other weekend arrangement.
And who initiated that proceeding?
I did.
And what was the reason for initiating alternate weekends?
I found that the children being with him for 5 days in a row, their schoolwork was not performing. It was difficult for them to be gone from me for that long.
Did you have a trial?
No, it was agreed to between our attorneys.
You wouldn't happen to have copies of your proceeding?
I do not.
I do, Your Honor.
I'd like to see it.
There is a copy of what was filed and also what was agreed to and stipulated.
I would like to see it. Would you stand up, Mr. Green? Mr. Green, in what month and year did you meet your wife?
July of 08.
Where did you meet her?
I met her over in Boise on a 4th of July event.
And what kind of work do you do in Utah?
I worked for Kennecott Utah Copper. I'm a maintenance planner.
Do you recall when your wife moved to modify the agreement so that she could relocate to Utah?
I believe that was in December of 08.
And what's the status of that case?
It's settled, yeah.
And what's the settlement?
That we were allowed to move my wife and the kids to Utah.
How often does Mr. Dinger see his children now?
We alternate Christmas and Thanksgiving.
Yes.
He has 2 weeks in June, roughly, and 2 weeks in August, according to their school schedules. And we do also alternate spring break.
So other than holidays, he doesn't see the children regularly as he had done between July of 2004 and December of 2008.
That's
That would
correct.
be a fair statement.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you filed this petition and made certain allegations against both Miss Dinger and your former husband. And at the end of this case, you agreed to alternate weekend visitation.
Yes.
Now, when were you married to Mr. Dinger?
November 30th, 2004.
Now we have some background. And two of you have 2 children together and you have 4 children of your own?
Yes, I do.
It is your claim that Miss Green filed false charges against you.
Absolutely.
In an attempt to get a leg up. You don't say that. That's what I say. In an attempt to get a leg up in her lawsuit against her former husband to allow her to move from Idaho to Utah to be with her husband.
Yes.
The critical question for me is, when did she file the complaint against you?
She filed the complaint on the 13th of November in 08, following an incident between me and my husband. We had agreed to separate due to some issues that we were having.
She claims that there was an act of domestic violence.
There was not.
Did you call the police?
No.
Have you ever called the police to report a case of domestic violence against your husband?
Yes, I did.
When?
February 3rd, 2007.
And what was the result of that case?
It was dismissed.
At your request?
Yes.
You had to think about that?
Well, we met with the prosecuting attorney and we discussed it and she agreed to dismiss it.
Because That's what you wanted.
Absolutely.
Got it. I'd like to see the complaint she filed in November of 2008, and that's the one you're complaining about, is that right?
Yes.
And you were married December of 08.
Yes.
All comes clear. Did your wife ever discuss with you moving to Idaho?
No, we never discussed moving to Idaho just because of my work. I work in the mining industry. And
So if you were going to marry, the expectation was that she was going to move from Idaho to Utah.
Yes.
But she couldn't because she would have to leave her children behind.
Right. We knew we'd have to.
Right?
Yes.
Unless you got a court to agree to relocation.
Right.
You got where I'm going, Mr. Green?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Now you can sit. I'd like to see what she filed against you.
I've got the complaint as well that I filed with the court.
I'd like to see it. You would agree with me that your timing was serendipitous, madam. You know what that means? That means that it was a month before your marriage to someone who lived out of state that you decided to file a protective order against either your husband or his wife.
That's actually incorrect. I had actually filed protection orders before. There is a history of abuse in this situation.
When was the first time that you filed a protective order against Mrs. Dinger?
The first time was June 1st of 07.
It was not awarded against me.
Well, just a second. Is that when you filed your first protective order against Mrs. Dinger?
Well, it's listed on here against the both of them.
I'd like to see it. And that was in June?
June of 07. The abuse didn't start when I got married. The abuse has been ongoing over the past several years.
You'll notice she filed application.
Well, this says the respondent is Donald Dinger. Your allegations with regard to any abuse were with regard to him, and the action was solely against him. And after you filed that, you agreed to have your children visit with their father every other weekend.
Correct.
And according to your statement to me earlier, you said you did that because the children didn't want to be away from you for 5 days straight. It interrupted their schooling. That's what you told me.
Correct.
Okay, now you can return this.
Can I say something on that particular issue?
No.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I've also got a police report from November 14th of 2008 when Tammy duct taped my daughter's head.
I did. I placed a piece of duct tape over her mouth.
Why?
Tammy Dinger says her husband's ex-wife, Tiana Green, falsely accused her of abusing her child. Tiana claims Tammy duct taped her daughter's mouth. She is countersuing for legal fees and punitive damages.
Okay, Ms. Dinger, was there a call from Child Protective Services by a school counselor?
Yes.
Did you speak to the school counselor or the child protective worker?
I spoke to police and the child protective worker.
And what happened as a result of that?
The case was dismissed.
I've got a copy of the report that was made
I'd like to see it.
From welfare. That was called in by the school counselor, not myself.
Oh, well, my dear Miss Dinger, this says that the school official saw fingernail marks on the child's face. That's what it says.
Yes, I've seen it.
It was called in by the school. It wasn't called, it was observed by someone at the school.
It's not the first time the child has made similar allegations. At one point in our home, she was sucking on her arm to give herself a hickey, which would turn out to look like a bruise, and informed her younger sister at the time, I'm going to tell the school counselor tomorrow that Tamby did this to me. We proceeded to the school the next day, which was a different counselor than this, to explain.
Okay, so it's a complicated issue.
Absolutely.
If what you're telling me is that the child made up a story.
Absolutely.
And the child made up, according to you, this story so that the fingernail marks on the child's cheek were as a result of her hurting herself in some way. But that's the story that she told the school guidance counselor.
Yes.
Then the school guidance counselor has an obligation to call Child Protective Services.
Absolutely.
And as the child's mother, even though I think that there was an ulterior motive on her part, she has an obligation to protect her children. Do you understand?
I understand what you're saying.
Either she's going to say, my child is a liar, which is possible because they do lie, or I have to go along and believe her, especially since I know that there has been some domestic violence in that house. Right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah. Anyway, that's your lawsuit. Your lawsuit is that she had no right to file these charges against you.
In similar allegations that have arisen against her household, she has told police that her child is a liar.
It may be, but she has an obligation, as does the school, Ms. Dinger, to call in a report, and she has an obligation to seek a protective order. She does, even though the timing couldn't have been more perfect for her. Do you understand?
I do. Why is she? I have continuous emails where she's asking us to take the children following each incident that she reports. She needs to travel, so she wants us to take the children for her. She dismissed the protection order herself. The temporary one was awarded, as is done. She dismissed it.
And she dismissed it, and then she decided to pursue her case in the family court to relocate.
Absolutely.
Exactly. That's
15 days after dismissing it, asked us to take the children again.
Show me.
I have numerous emails here.
No. I would like to see, after she was advised by the school counselor that there were finger marks on the child's face, and after she filed for the protective order, I would like to see an email where she asks you to take care of the children.
Wednesday, the 7th of January, 2009.
Can I see it, please? Would you tell me what these emails are about?
We have gone solely to email communication, so I would have to see them to see.
Would you show this to Ms. Green?
Email communication that was supposed to be between their father and I.
Which are often addressed to me.
I just want you to explain that to me.
She's in a meeting. Looks like we were just, I mean, the fact is that the visitation had to occur. I couldn't get around that at that point. So it looks like here, I would like to keep this weekend the same. I'm flying to Salt Lake City. Once we had agreed that he would allow me to move with the children to Salt Lake, he quit taking them on his weekends. And so that's what this was.
Can I have that back, please?
And then I've also got a police report from November 14th of 2008 when Tammy duct taped my daughter's head.
It's not November 4th, 2008. She's incorrect.
I'm sorry, January 7th of 2008.
And she's also stating it incorrectly.
Well, tell me what you did.
First of all, it was...
No, just tell me what you did.
I did. I placed a piece of duct tape over her mouth, about a 3-inch.
Why?
3.5 hours of violence. She woke up in the morning screaming and yelling, violently acting out towards her 3 younger siblings.
How old is she?
At the time, in 2008, she would have been 10. She has a history of issues. I called her father when she was out of control prior to the duct tape.
And where was he?
He was at work.
Well, duct taping her mouth closed is inappropriate, Ms. Dinger.
Absolutely. It just didn't happen quite that way.
I don't care how it happened.
I called him. He called her. Her response to him was, Donald, when the children are on your time, they are on your responsibility. You call the doctor and get the medicine yourself. She was 1.3 miles from my home, had the medication, and chose not to aid me.
What does that have to do with duct taping the child's mouth closed?
After 3.5 hours, the child, she keeps coming out of her room. I'm putting in her room to try and separate her. She has hit me.
Listen to me. There are lots of ways, Ms. Dinger, to handle that kind of situation.
It wasn't handling it.
Listen.
It was I lost control.
No. Well, before you lose control, you take her, put her in the car, and take her home.
I had 7 other children.
That's not the 10-year-old's problem. That's your problem. If you folks have too many children, that's your problem. And if you can only take care of one child, only have one. And if you can't take care of one hysterical child, then you shouldn't have 6. What I'm telling you is your response in duct taping her mouth is inappropriate. And if you did it, she has a right to complain about it. And if the child complains to a school counselor that you put your hand over her mouth and your fingernails went into her face, which the counselor saw, I'm not saying how she got them, but that's what the child says, then her mother has a right to file a petition to keep you away from her children. At the same time, she can file in the family court to modify the order of custody or visitation. All I'm saying to you is, you gave her the ammunition. She chose to use it at an opportune time for her. But that doesn't mean you have a lawsuit. Because if you did, in fact, do what you just acknowledged to me that you did, she had an absolute right to file a petition to keep you away from her kids.
The only reason she had the ability to even have that is because I corroborated it. I stood up.
Doesn't make any difference, Miss Dinger. You don't have a lawsuit if the allegation is true, even though serendipity was sleeping in her corner because it came at a perfect time when she wanted to relocate her children away from their father because she was getting married. All happened at a very good time for her. That doesn't mean you have a lawsuit. Now, you have a counterclaim that I'm prepared to hear for about 5 minutes.
Okay. I also have a recording just showing the volatility that she can.
I don't need it. I heard it. I ruled on her case.
Okay.
Now I'm ready to hear what you think you have a lawsuit about.
Well, I've got attorney's fees that specifically detail out my attorney's work on this protection order case.
Well, my friend, you shouldn't have dismissed it. If you dismissed it, there had to be a reason.
I followed my attorney's advice.
Then go ask the attorney for your money. Did you file your attorney's advice when you filed it against her?
Actually, I did that on my own.
Did you file? Hey, don't play with me. Did you follow your attorney's advice when you filed it against her?
Yes.
Of course. Then you dismissed it on his advice. Yes. Then you refiled a petition to amend the order of custody to allow you to relocate, following his advice. Pay for your own lawyer.
Okay. I've also got proof to the abuse that's happening up to Easter this year.
Listen to me.
No abuse.
Don't bring it to me. Bring it to family court.
I intend to.
That's not my issue. That's family court's issue. Were it not that Miss Dinger gave you the ammunition to file against her, I would have granted her application.
11 months prior?
She filed complaints against you, but did not seek an order of protection specifically against you, only against him. You're looking at me with this look of incredulity. A mother does not duct tape the mouth closed of a 10-year-old. That's stupid. And I don't care whether it happened 11 days or 11 months before. I'm saying you gave her the ammunition to file the case that she did. The fact that she did it because it was part of a scheme to allow her to move to Utah just was perfect timing on her part. But she didn't make up the allegations. They were true.
She did, Your Honor, lie under oath.
They were true. Her child complained to the guidance counselor that the marks on her face were made by you with putting your hand over her face, and the complaint that you duct taped her mouth closed because her mother refused to bring her over the medication and you lost it is not an excuse.
That's not why I did it.
I don't care why you did it. And if you still think that it was appropriate...
I do not.
Oh, well, fine. Then you got to understand this. You gave her the ammunition. Do you get that? Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's case number 25 on the calendar in the matter of Clegg versus Olmsted.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Judge parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Mr. Olmsted, the plaintiff indicates in her complaint that you purchased a television set while the two of you were together, and you lived together for a period of time. You separated, and Ms. Clegg indicates that you separated because she found out some things that she didn't know about you. Should that be a fair statement? You have the television set. The payments for that television set was still outstanding when she left. There was some $1,200 left.
It was $1,257.
And on whose credit was it purchased?
Mine.
You got the TV.
Yes, ma'am.
You want the TV?
It's my TV, yeah.
It's not your TV unless you pay for it.
I did pay for it.
Show me.
I put...
What date did you separate?
We separated in December.
December 2009.
2008.
Okay. After December of 2008, she says that when you separated, there was $1,257 still owing.
There was only $1,000 owed on it, and I transferred that money into her account in January. 2 transactions from my account to her account for $500 each a transaction. She didn't pay it off in time. Then the interest kicked in. There's 2 transactions. There's one on the first day. There's actually 3 transactions to her account equaling $1,500. The third one was for a credit card that she said I owed her $500 on, so I paid that as well.
Okay, explain that to me.
He did transfer money into my account. It was for a credit card that he had on my name because he didn't have good credit, so he could not get any credit in his name.
Well, how much was owed on the credit card at the time?
There was $400. The balance was $1,000. There's $400 charge, and it says on her attorneys for his divorce. And he also owed me for his child's dentist that I was paying, which I have proof here also that I was paying.
I'm not getting so involved in this complicated case. You understand that?
Yes. And
I
then,
want to know how much was owed on this credit card when you separated in December.
$1,062.
Take a look at this, sir.
All that one is the $400.
The only thing on this that I owe was $400, and I paid her $500.
$404.
She paid my retainer for my attorney for my divorce with this credit card, okay?
How much?
She paid $400.
Yes.
I paid her $500 for the interest. So I transferred $500. There's 3 transactions there of $500 apiece.
And so what you're telling me is none of those other transactions on that credit card are yours?
I mean, no.
Look carefully.
That's only 1 month statement.
That's dinner.
I wasn't trying to get for that credit card. I was just saying
Can I
that
talk?
some of it.
She asked me.
No. Listen to me, Miss Clegg, very carefully. I see he transferred $1,500 to you at the end of December and the beginning of January.
$1,500?
Yeah. 3 payments of $500. 2 on January 7th and 1 on January 21st.
I did not get those transactions.
Those are my bank records from my bank account to her bank account. So I don't know how she couldn't have got them.
Miss Clegg, I just need your checking account for the months of December and January.
Here we go.
December 2008, January 2009.
Do you want the withdrawals or just the deposits that he had given me?
The statement. You should have it. Transferred from. I have 1 January 7th for $500 that she did, in fact, get. There is only 1 on January 7th for $500, sir, not 2.
Oh, you know what? The one that says Clegg L, that's a different account. I transferred that because she said that she needed to put it into a savings account. So
Just a second. You have 2 that you've outlined on January 7th, both to Clegg M.
Okay.
She only received 1, but they're 2 different numbers. Hold on a second.
Yeah, there's 2 bank accounts. I mean, one of them was a savings.
Whoa. Wait a second. How many different bank accounts do you have?
I have 2 savings, and I have 1, which the L is my mother.
That's where you told me to transfer it to.
No. I have are 2 different savings account
yes,
numbers.
I do. I have 2 accounts. I have
2
that's
different
my
savings
mom's, and
accounts.
I have 2 other savings accounts.
Show me those 2 savings accounts.
I can show you on the internet. I don't have anything with that because
show me on the internet.
Yeah, there's nothing. I have nothing.
Well, then you take a look at these.
Okay. Yeah, Clegg L is my mother, not me.
I just put it in the account. She told me to put it in.
You owe my mother money.
Oh, now I owe her mother money.
No, I believe you. Mr. Olmsted.
Yes, ma'am.
I see where you gave her $1,500. She says she only received 1 payment of $500. That's a lie.
Yes, ma'am.
She received 3 payments of $500. 2 went into her savings accounts and 1 went into her checking account.
Yes, ma'am.
So I don't believe that he only gave you 1 payment of $500. Now,
one of the Clegg L is my mom.
I don't care.
But that goes towards the TV?
His defense is that he gave you money after he moved out. Some of it was for his credit card, for his lawyer, and some of it was for the TV, $1,000 for the TV, which at that time, that's what was owed on the TV, which he paid for. He said the fact that you didn't make the payment on it and it went up to $1,200 is not his problem. If I believe him, then he doesn't owe you any money for the TV.
I put $1,000 down on that TV too, which I have proof of.
I don't care. TV, listen to me. All I'm concerned about is whether when you moved out there was any money due and owing on the television that he kept. And there was.
Yes.
And I find that he paid you for it. Now, the next thing I'm going to go over with you, what you say, you loaned him for rent.
Yes.
Now I'll hear what you say. You loaned him for rent. After you broke up, after you moved out, go.
I paid $2,600 to rent. He came to me in January of '09 and asked me if I could help him because he could not afford it and it would not look good in his divorce if he didn't have a place to stay. So I paid in January 2nd, I believe it is, I paid $995, which he was planning on paying me after his divorce. And
just a minute. Put your hand down. I saw it. Didn't you see me looking at you?
Well, I'm just making sure you saw me.
I couldn't miss it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Why did you move out in December?
He was with my sister's best friend.
Yeah, that's a very good reason
That's
to leave.
not true, Your Honor. She cheated on me.
I don't care.
So.
Actually, that's for another program, another time slot, not mine.
And later today,
I don't think you were trying to get her parking space. I don't think that that's what you were trying to do. I think that
No,
you...
I don't even live over in that area.
Only one attitude here, and that's mine.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Melanie Clegg claims ex-boyfriend Newell Olmsted owes for rent and a television. Newell claims he's already paid his debt.
Now, first show me proof that you gave him $2,600.
Okay. Here's that 1, 2, 3.
Don't give him anything. What are you showing me here?
The withdrawals out of the account were the rent for his house. That's a Wells Fargo account. It goes into a Bank of America account. And I had cash so that it wasn't the exact same amount every single month because I was...
Did she give you any money towards rent?
She didn't give me any money. She paid, I mean, yes, she did go pay the rent for us.
When?
January, February, March, but she received half the rent from him, so I don't know why she pulled out $900.
Shh. January, February, March. Now, she was not living with you then.
She moved out in December. Just stuck us with everything, just moved out.
And who were you living with at that time?
He moved in, or he decided to stay to help me with the rent since she moved out.
Was this apartment in both your names or just your name?
It was just in my name, but we lived there together, yes.
Did you move in together or did she move in?
Yes. We moved in together in December of 08, and she moved out in December of 08.
Where had you been living before?
We had a house that we rented for a year. The lease was up. We wanted to get into a cheaper place, so we got into a place that was $300 less a month.
When you lived in the house, were you sharing expenses?
Yes.
And why did you move out in December?
Because he was with my sister's best friend.
Yeah, that's a very good reason to leave.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Even if she thinks it, it's a very good reason to leave.
It is true, but the reason we split up is because she cheated on me.
I don't care.
So.
Actually, that's for another program, another time slot, not mine.
Okay.
I don't actually care about that. All I want to know is she moved out, the lease is in solely your name.
Yes.
And would you tell me why she paid any of the rent for January, February, and March?
She was helping me out, like she said. You know, I didn't have...
She was helping you?
Yes.
Why, if she was furious with you, because that's what she says, she was furious with you.
I didn't say she was furious.
Why? She says.
She says she's furious. I didn't. Why?
No. Listen to me. Hey.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Why would somebody who is furious with you, she says she was furious with you, give you money?
That baffles me.
I wouldn't give you a penny.
I wouldn't either.
Because she found out about him being together with her friend.
Listen, go get your 15 minutes someplace else, but don't shout out here.
I'm not trying to get 15 minutes. I'm just trying to state facts.
I don't want you to state anything unless I ask you to.
I raised my hand earlier and I didn't get a turn.
Excuse me.
But tell him not to go far in case I need him.
Will do.
I'm pretty sure we'll need him.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Just as long as she knows that he's here. The gentleman, Motormouth, who was here a moment ago, did he give you any money?
No.
Towards rent?
He gave me $0.
You never got any money from him?
From him, no. If it came from his account, I don't know where the money came from.
Did you get any money?
That $500 that I put on there that says Tim's half of rent on that page, yes, that's the $500 of Tim's half of rent.
Who is Tim?
Motormouth.
Motormouth.
Yes.
Okay, so you got that money.
That's it.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. So you got $500 of the $26 that you gave him, which means you're out $2,100.
If that's what, wait, can I ask you something?
You're out $2,100.
Can I ask you something? Is that going towards the TV?
Forget the TV. The TV's over. I've already made a judgment on the TV.
Yes, but if you're accounting that $500 transferred from his account that you see out of Newell Olmsted's account into my account, the $500.
I thought it was from him.
It's out of Newell Olmsted's account.
Oh, well, you can't use that same $500, Mr. Olmsted, 10 times.
I'm not.
You can only use it once.
Tim gave her...
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Listen to me. You might be a very, very nice man and have many redeeming qualities. You're not George Clooney. Nobody who's not living with you, sir, is going to pay $2,600 for your rent. Not somebody that looks like that. Do you understand? Take a good look. Somebody that looks like that is not going to pay $2,600 for your rent after she's already broken up with you.
I agree.
But that's what she did.
No, she did not. Tim paid her $450. His part of the rent, he paid her. So that's not true. Yes, yes, she helped
I don't
me.
believe that, and I don't believe motor mouth. I don't believe you should have had nothing to do with her. After you separated, you should have nothing to do with her. How come she gave you money? Did you call her and tell her that you needed money for rent?
I asked her to help me with rent. Yes.
Good. You owe her $2,600. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank God it's over.
Obviously, she was still in love.
He's mad that I dated somebody before him.
She cheated on me.
That was before we were together.
I found out about 8 months after she did it when she finally confessed to it.
Now he's with my sister's best friend.
I was asking her, you know, hounding her. Finally, she admitted to it.
Don't ever date a loser.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Colley versus Johnson Cross. Step forward, please.
23-year-old Andrea Colley is suing Tiffany Johnson Cross for crashing into her car in the parking lot of their apartment complex.
Why didn't you have insurance on your car?
I didn't have insurance at the time. I didn't even know that it lapsed. I had a change of address put in, and my insurance was not mailed to the address that I was residing at. So once I spoke with them, I didn't know that the date was
go
up.
back, Miss Cross. Where were you living?
I was living in Forest Park, and then I switched. I'm now in an apartment at Fairfield, but they didn't know that.
Do you have a lease where you're presently living?
Yes, I do.
When did the lease start?
It started in the end of November.
Of 2009?
Yes.
And on what date did your insurance lapse?
My insurance lapsed on 2/19/2010.
Go over there and show me where the accident happened, because each of you claimed that the other caused the accident that we're talking about, and this was in your building. Go over and show me what you were doing.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You hit her car with the front of your car.
I didn't hit the middle of her car. I hit the front of her passenger side.
Perfect. That's exactly what I said.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Andrea Colley claims neighbor Tiffany Johnson Cross ran into her car in the parking lot of their complex. Tiffany says it was Andrea who ran into her.
Okay, go ahead.
Basically,
you were driving.
I was
and
driving.
She was behind you.
Yes.
And she acknowledges she was behind you, because I read your answer.
Yes.
You were behind her. Go ahead.
I was driving down. I was trying to turn right into my parking spot.
Do you have assigned parking?
No.
So you go where there is an open spot?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
I was turning right into my parking spot when she tried to go around me to the right, and which led her to coming, hitting my passenger door and fender.
So she went around you on the right?
Yes, ma'am.
And where those lines are, I assume there were
These lines?
empty spaces?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you can step back. Now you go over Miss Cross and show me your version of what happened. You're behind her.
Yes, I was behind Miss Colley, and she turned to the left. These spaces here were full. It was 9:30 at night. There were no spaces right here. She turned to park to the left. I proceeded to go past her because she did a complete left turn. When I proceeded to pass her, Miss Colley, I guess she may have saw another space, and she wrapped back around to the right, and she hit me.
I'd like to see pictures of the car. I want to see pictures of your car. You hit her. She didn't hit you.
No, the damage to my car was more than that, but because of the apartment place we live in.
You hit, I'm looking at her car. You hit her car with the front of your car.
No, the damage is actually on the side. If you look at the other pictures, it's actually on the side of my vehicle, and that's on the corner. It's not in the front.
Middle of her car.
Where is that?
Front
Because I didn't
of
hit
your car.
I didn't hit the middle of her car. I hit the front of her passenger side.
Perfect. That's exactly what I said.
No, I'm not saying that I hit her. What I'm saying is that's where our cars collided.
Listen, Miss Cross.
Yes.
I know exactly what happened, and you had no insurance. Did you ask her to report the accident a couple of days later so
No,
that
I
you
did
could
not.
have your insurance reinstated?
No, I did not.
You didn't?
And it wasn't because I didn't have insurance. At the time, I didn't know that it had lapsed until I called to talk to my insurance company, and then that's when they told me. I immediately reinstated my insurance.
Go
I
ahead,
did not
Miss
hit her
Coley.
car. She hit me.
Go ahead, Miss
Your Honor,
Coley.
I
No,
have-
you hit her. That's why we're here, for me to make that decision. I can see from the pictures you hit her.
I don't see how you get that from the pictures.
Listen, you want to look at them? You can. But that's what my job is, to look at it, to look at that, to listen to the story, and to make a judgment as to whether or not you were trying to get around her because you were trying to exit and she was trying to park. I don't think you were trying to get her parking space. I don't think that that's what you were trying to do. I think that
No,
you...
I don't even live over that area.
Only one attitude here, and that's mine.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Miss Cross, you weren't trying to get her parking space. You were probably trying to exit. But you hit her car because you couldn't wait an extra 2 seconds for her to pull into the spot.
No, I could have waited. She turned left with no
Listen to
signal.
me. You can't talk over me.
No, I can't.
That's what the pictures show, that you hit her car. That's what the damage to her car show, that you hit her car. That's what the damage on your car shows, that it was the front of your car that hit her car. It's exactly what she describes in here, that you went around her.
How did I go around her if she turned to the left?
Okay, can I see your estimate, please?
That's the actual estimate right there.
You still living there?
No, ma'am.
When did you move?
I moved at the beginning of April.
Was your lease up?
No, ma'am.
Why did you move?
I moved because I had 2 jobs. I lost my main job because of the fact they shut down, so I moved back in with my parents.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,954. You count the claims dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Now, that's case number 109 on the calendar, the matter of Harris versus Harris.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Mr. Harris, this is your former wife. How long were you married?
10 years.
From when to when?
I must say 1991, 2001.
Is that about right?
No. June 17th, 92 to March 12th, 1998.
That sound right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You have children?
Yes, ma'am.
How many with
2.
Mrs. Harris?
2.
How old are they?
11 and 15.
And where was the marital residence?
In Austin, Texas.
How long did you live there?
About 5 years, I think.
Was that immediately prior to your divorcing or separating?
Yes, ma'am.
The house in both your names?
The loan is in my name. We were married when we bought it, so the title is in both of our names.
And what did the judgment of divorce provide for with regard to the marital residence?
She was awarded the house as long as she continued making the payments on it.
And what were the payments?
$820 a month.
And Mrs. Harris had custody of the children?
That is correct.
And what was your child support obligation?
$576 a month.
So I assume you worked?
No, not for 8 years, no.
Did you go back to work after the two of you separated?
I went back to work May 27th, 2008. Shortly after the divorce, it took a while to find a job.
Are you still working?
Yes.
How much do you earn?
I make $13.75 an hour. That includes a shift differential because I work later hours.
Since the divorce, have you been current in paying your child support?
I have been current. I'm paid through May right now at this point in time. But because of all the money I've had to put forth towards this house to keep it out of foreclosure.
Now listen to me very carefully, sir.
Yes.
I want you to tell me, from the time of your divorce in 1998.
Yes, I am current.
Have you paid each and every month $576 a month?
Yes.
There was never a time when you were delinquent.
There's been a few times.
When?
Different times.
Well, give me an example of different times, Mr. Harris.
Because I have had to pay for this house. She didn't work for 8 years. I had to pay for everything over there.
I'm talking about since the divorce, sir.
Okay.
Have you paid your child support each and every week, or have you been delinquent at some periods?
Yeah, some periods I have been.
Well, that's what I asked you. What periods, Mr. Harris?
I don't recall.
Well, so now let's understand what the lawsuit's about.
Okay.
It is your claim that Mrs. Harris purposefully vandalized the house before she moved out, and she moved out because she couldn't pay the mortgage anymore. The house was going to go into foreclosure. And in addition, she slandered you by putting up a sign in the front lawn saying that you were a deadbeat father.
Correct, and I have...
Well, you've just told me, sir, that there were times, and you don't recall how many, that you were delinquent in your child support. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Then you are a deadbeat father.
Okay. That is your opinion.
Well, that's true. I mean, you have 2 children. You paid $100 a week for the 2 children, which hardly supports children, and you just told me you were delinquent. And you didn't say to me, well, I may have been delinquent for a week. You said to me, I don't recall how many times since 1998 I've been delinquent.
Your Honor, I have his history right here.
I'd like to see it.
This is what I've gotten since the history was printed out and mailed to me. This shows from when he started to March the 1st.
I just want the printout.
Okay. It shows that he fell behind, started falling behind and having problems in mid-09, the same time that the car I got in the divorce threw a rod, and I had to go buy a new vehicle so I could keep my job.
What does that have to do with
It just has to do with if he had been paying in full on time, I could have squeaked by and wouldn't have had to fall behind in my payments and still been able to pay the bills and take care of the kids and pay for their lunches. And here I have where he's taken me to court on July the 8th to reduce the amount that he's paying me because he doesn't work.
Yes,
I mean, anybody that thinks being a real estate agent in this economy is gainful employment, then you're delusional.
I make over $50,000 at different times, at different years.
When you made over $50,000, sir, did you give her extra money?
I've been paying every bill over there for the last 8 years before the divorce and helping out during the divorce. Every stick of furniture she owns, I bought. Every appliance, I bought. So I am not a deadbeat.
Well, you are.
Well,
sir,
I bought everything over there.
You are if a court ordered you to pay $576 a month and you failed to pay it.
That's why there's a court order for a reduction in child support, because the economy has changed.
Get a job.
Just a second. I'm not talking about 2010, sir. I'm talking about when the house went into a delinquency.
Due to her not paying?
You weren't paying.
That was her obligation.
No.
Yes.
No, Mr. Harris. It's a domino effect, Mr. Harris.
She's
you
living
think,
there.
hey,
not anymore.
This the new wife?
Yes.
You moved back into the house?
To save it from foreclosure.
You moved back into the house.
To save it, she went 7 months without making a
back
payment.
into the house.
7 months without a payment.
You moved back into the house.
That's right. To save it from foreclosure.
With a house that was given to her and the children.
We agreed to sell it. Sorry.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Stand up. I just want to hear what you just said to me.
Child support is support. It's aid. It's not wage replacement.
I was a family court judge for 25 years. You telling me what child support is?
And later today.
Some things I believe you say and some things I don't. This I happen to believe, Mr. DeVito. See how fair I am?
Yeah.
It's my middle name. Justice and fair and kind.
Leslie Harris damaged their home before she moved out and placed defamatory signs on their front lawn.
Mr. Harris, let me put it to you this way. If you had come to me and said to me, I was charged with sending my children $576 a month. I faithfully sent my children $576 a month. Despite that, she failed to pay the mortgage.
That is correct.
Well, you show me, sir, that you made each and every payment of the $576 a month.
I've caught up.
No, you're behind May and June right now.
Just a second.
June is not behind.
Just a second. When did you catch up?
I've been paying all along.
I asked you before, Mr. Harris.
Yes.
During what periods of time were you not paying $576 a month?
When I have to wait for a closing, I do not get paid weekly.
Okay. Now, when you had to wait for a closing.
That's right.
When you had to wait for a closing, so you weren't sending the money to your children, and she, therefore, wasn't sending a payment to the bank.
No.
Whose responsibility is that?
The bank started way before that. She blew the money she had that she was supposed to be making the mortgage with.
Child support is support, not wage replacement.
Stand up. I just want to hear what you just said to me.
Child support is support. It's aid. It's not wage replacement. I was a single mom. I received child support beforehand.
I was a family court judge for 25 years. You telling me what child support is? Child support pays for piece of the rent, piece of the utilities, part of the cable, part of the food, part of the water bill. There were 3 people living in that house. 2 of them remain half his responsibility.
Right.
Good. Sit.
He just quit.
Child support is not aid.
Your Honor, he just paid March and April and May.
Would you just do me a favor? Zip it.
Sorry.
Zip it. If he was delinquent in his child support, it was not a nice thing for you to do, to put that he's a deadbeat. It was not a nice thing to do for your children. Do you understand?
I put 2 flyers in the realtor box. If that's what they pulled out of there, then nobody was looking anyway.
Listen to me. It's not a nice thing to do for your children.
They didn't see it. They didn't know about it.
Who saw it?
Me.
Who else?
All the neighbors, and here's a picture.
I don't... Hey, listen.
I'm sorry.
What are you laughing about?
I'm just
what are you laughing
happy
about?
to be able to defend
listen
myself
to me.
here.
He gets nothing. He moved back into the house, new wife, her child. If he wants to fix up the house, he now has. I assume you turned over title to the house to him?
No, we had agreed to sell it. I signed a listing agreement. I don't think he ever intended to sell it.
Listen to me very carefully. Very few people can sell houses today.
In Texas, it's
very
not that
few
way.
people can sell houses today. But meanwhile, he's living there with his new family, and if he wants to fix it up, he can fix it up. What I'm telling you is, it is not a nice thing for you to do to disparage the father of your children to anyone. It may feel good for a moment. It may have a visceral reaction for a moment. So, gee, that feels good to do it. But it's not the right thing to do.
When we came 5 days away from being evicted from our rental home because he was 2 months behind, you get desperate. You just, you know, you lose it.
She refuses visitation to his kids regularly.
Your case is dismissed. Take Big Mouth out.
Excuse me, step out.
Leslie left me with 7 months of non-payment.
I told him that I was behind in my payments.
I've witnessed her yelling, screaming, drunken, outrages.
He changed the locks on me. Isn't that illegal when I'm still co-owner of the house?
Constantly refusing the kids to see him, telling bad things to the kids constantly on a regular basis so that they don't want to come see him for his regular visitation.
No, that became their choice when they would see their mother sitting there struggling and crying over what bill I was going to pay because he was 2 months behind in his child support. He's 2 months behind right now.
It's just appalling why someone would spend so much time of their life to try to intentionally make someone else's life worse.
Leave me alone and let me live my life.
I want him to get a job and catch up.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Heyer versus DeVito. Step forward.
Danielle Heyer is suing her ex-fiancé, Frank DeVito IV, for the return of bail money and for pawning her engagement ring.
Miss Heyer, when did you start to date Mr. DeVito?
In the spring of 08.
Month.
I would say March.
And when was the last time you were out on a date with him?
Probably in July of 08.
And you haven't had anything to do with him since?
I haven't had anything to do with him since the fall of this year.
Month?
November.
What happened between July of 08 and November of 09?
We started dating in the early spring, and our relationship was going well, and then in the fall of 2008, he was sent back to jail.
What I want to know is when this relationship was over.
March.
So you and Mr. DeVito were in a relationship?
Yes.
Not living together?
No, not in the beginning.
From March of 08 until March of 09. 1 year. Now, claim he owes you some money.
Yes.
One is for bail. What were you arrested for, sir?
Parole violation.
What was the nature of the underlying crime?
Robbery in the first degree.
How many years did you serve?
0. It was all dropped.
Were you in prison at all?
Yes, ma'am.
From when to when?
2003 to 2008.
Where?
Lino Lakes, Minnesota, and Rush City.
Is that for the robbery?
No, ma'am.
For what?
Past crime.
Last time I heard that was not a violation of the penal law, past crime, so we won't go into anything else.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What? Why are you looking at me with that goofy look on your face?
Because she took $1,000 a day, she hit me with the frying pan, and I moved out with my mom. She took $1,000 out of my wallet.
Where did you get $1,000 from?
From the casino. I like to gamble.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Danielle Heyer says ex-fiancé Frank DeVito IV owes for bail money and for pawning her engagement ring.
Now, you were rearrested on a robbery charge?
Yes, ma'am.
When?
September 27th, I believe it was. 27th or 28th, dealing with my children's mother.
Did Miss Heyer post any part of your bail?
Yes, ma'am.
How much?
$2,500. My mother posted the other part.
Did you pay your mother back?
Nope, she gave it to me as a gift, ma'am.
Your mother did?
Yes, ma'am.
What does your mother do for a living?
She runs a bowling alley. She's a general manager of 3 bowling centers.
She's been doing that for a long time?
No, ma'am.
How long?
8 years.
That's a pretty long time.
Oh, she's bored. My father died in the military, so we were well taking care of kids.
How did it come about that Miss Heyer posted the $2,500 bail that you were short?
Her and my mom, and talking back and forth, she offered to put up that part, and my mom decided she'd put up the other part.
Did you ever contact Miss Heyer from prison?
Quite a few times.
Did you discuss the bail with her?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you say to her, and what did she say to you?
She had asked, would I pay her back? And I, at that time we were going to be together, so the money would be going into both of our accounts.
Do you want to repeat that slowly to me? She asked you if you were going to pay her back, and you said?
It would be both of our accounts because we were together. So basically paying myself back.
Why would it be both of your accounts?
Because we were together at that time.
So what?
When I got out and put a job, I was putting checks into her account.
But you weren't in a job. You were in prison where you were making 10 cents an hour.
I was never in prison. I was in jail for 28 days.
Well, 28 days. For 28 days, you weren't earning any money.
At that time, I wasn't, but as soon as I got out, I got a job.
And did you pay her back?
I didn't think I had to.
Well, were you still together?
Yeah, at that time.
After you got out of jail, were you working?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work were you doing?
I was working at a place called Skechers. They do law enforcement uniforms.
And you were working there on the books or off the books?
On the books.
How much were you earning?
$9 an hour.
And how long did it take you at $9 an hour to pay her back $2,500?
Probably would have took me a long time, but I figured
It would have took you a very long time and taken you even longer.
But, I mean, she wanted me out.
Only I got that joke. All right, so we have $2,500 that you owe her, Mr. DeVito.
It was a gift.
What else? You claim that he took money out of your bank without permission.
Yes.
All right. Did you have a joint bank account?
No.
So this was your individual account?
Yes.
Did he ever put money into that account?
No.
How did he get the PIN number to take money out? Is not an answer.
I had told him one day what it was. Because
Why?
When he had originally gotten out, he had told me that he needed a haircut and stuff to get cleaned up, and I had to go to work. So I said, here's the card. You can take $40 out. Here's the PIN number.
Is that what happened?
No.
No. How did you get the PIN number?
She voluntarily gave it to me.
For what?
To take money out of it.
For what?
For spending.
Did you put money into the account?
Yes, ma'am.
That I believe. You were living together at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have your own bank account?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so the only bank account that you had was her bank account?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Some things I believe you say and some things I don't. This I happen to believe, Mr. DeVito. See how fair I am?
Yep.
Right? It's my middle name. Justice and fair and kind. What else do you want from him?
I'd like my full $4,000.
You're not going to get it. Don't give anybody your PIN number. What else do you want? Want to get your bail?
I want my bail, yes. And I believe that I deserve the money that was stolen from my banking card.
I don't believe it was stolen.
It was stolen on different dates, and I have all those dates and the times that I was at work.
Listen to me. I believe you gave him your PIN number.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Have you been cheated? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Miss Heyer, you're not getting money back from an account. When you were living together, he didn't have a bank account. You had a bank account. You gave him your PIN number. It's over now. You want the money back? I'm sorry. You're not going to get that money back. You're going to get your bail money back. Because he actually said to me, I told her we'd be together. I'd be putting money into the account too, and so I'll pay you back from that. But at $9 an hour, working, making uniforms, he hasn't paid back the $2,500. That's for sure. That he knows. The only other thing you want is money for an engagement ring that you claim you paid to take out of pawn when he pawned it.
Yes. And
in what month and year did you get it out of pawn shop?
I believe I got it out in early February. No, it was later. It was later in February that I got it out. I have the date on my bank statement when I recovered the ring. I was not aware of when it was originally pawned off because it was the band of my engagement ring that was pawned.
That he gave you?
Well, I financed the ring in my name because he has no credit. And so
I pretty much bought my own engagement ring, and he said that he was going to make the monthly payments on it when he got his job. That never happened.
Were you still living together at the time?
Yes.
That you don't get back either. You have the ring?
No, I returned it.
Where is it? You returned it?
Yes.
He owes you $2,500.
It's still...
It's over. It's finished. What? Why are you looking at me with that goofy look on your face?
Because, I mean, she took $1,000 a day. She hit me with the frying pan, and I moved out with my mom. She took $1,000 out of my wallet.
That is a lie.
Just a second. Just a second. Where did you get $1,000 from?
From the casino. I like to gamble.
Right here.
$2,500. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all. That's the bail.
Excuse, you may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Order. All rise. Now it's case number 22 on the calendar in the matter of Harris, Washington versus Johnson.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat.
How old are you?
17.
What's your first name?
Jordan.
Jordan, you are a very tall boy.
Yes.
Woo! 17 years old. How tall are you?
6'6".
Life's not fair. All I wanted if he was 5'4".
All I wanted to do was be rich.
You made it.
Yeah, that's right.
Jordan, you play baseball?
Basketball.
Basketball. And this was your coach?
Yes.
Not your coach anymore?
Right.
And you and your mother are suing him over an iPod?
Correct.
An iPod that Mr. Johnson said he did in fact sell. He's not even sure it belonged to you, but he has some story to tell me that he thinks justifies taking your iPod and selling it, and then he has a counterclaim for certain money that he says he extended to you, Jordan, and some harassment nonsense. So, Mr. Johnson, why don't you tell me about the iPod?
I know very little about the iPod until the incident happened.
Well, you were traveling, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
When were you traveling?
It was in July of 2009.
And you were traveling with the team?
Yes, ma'am.
Jordan was a member of the team?
At that time, yes, ma'am.
You were traveling by bus?
We rented a 12-passenger van.
Is he the tallest one on the team?
At that time, yes, he was.
Where'd you get the iPod from, Jordan?
I bought it from a friend.
What friend?
Caleb.
When did you buy it from Caleb?
Say about March of 09.
How much did you pay him for it?
$300.
Back in March of 09, what were they selling them for in the store?
$400, $450.
Why wouldn't you buy one from the store?
Because my friend was selling it for cheaper.
Where did he get it from?
He got it from the store.
Okay. So tell me, now you're traveling by bus, Mr. Johnson, and what happened?
Well, to make the story right, my witness here can testify as to when the iPod first came in question.
Okay. Who are you?
Tammy Williams.
How do you know these people?
I'm his wife, and I'm a team manager, team mom. I take care of all the tournaments, make all the reservations.
Tell me what you know about this iPod.
I do know that we had got to our destination.
Which was where?
Las Vegas, Nevada. And Jordan approached me and told me that his iPod was missing. I told him, did you check your bag good enough? And Jordan said he did and he couldn't find it. Told him, go check the van. He said, well, maybe someone took it. And I told him, no one took it. So let everyone get their stuff out the van first, go back and search the van. It's probably in the van. After that, I didn't hear anything about it until a couple days later. That time I had assumed that Jordan had found it because he never mentioned it anymore.
Okay. Then you can pick it up, Mr. Johnson.
Well, I was made aware of an incident concerning a player having money stolen from him. And so we decided to have a team meeting to try to get to the bottom of what was going on. And during that meeting, it was discovered, which he later admitted to, that Jordan was the perpetrator of stealing the $20 from the
Well, tell
other
me
teammate.
what Jordan said to you at that meeting.
At the initial meeting, when we had everybody, we called it kind of holding court. And so when I confronted Jordan, it was laughed off at like it was a prank. So at that time, I was like, man, give him his money back and be done with it. And that was the last I heard
Jordan,
at that time.
is that correct?
That's incorrect.
Tell me about the $20.
Okay.
Don't look up there. Up there's not going to help you.
Okay. After my iPod was missing for about 2 days, I was upset, and I seen a wallet on the bed, and I looked in it, and there's some money in there. I was upset about the iPod, so I just took I took $20 out of the iPod. I mean, out of the wallet.
Out of one of your teammates' wallets?
Yes, it was just sitting there.
I don't care if it was sitting there or doing a jig. You stole $20 out of his wallet.
Okay.
So, Mr. Johnson, you gave the player the $20?
Actually, my wife gave the player
the $20.
He had been given the opportunity to return that money earlier in the day, and he never would do that. He told me he had left the money in his bag in the room, and I told him I would be going in his bag to retrieve the money to give it back to the player. When I got to the room, there was no money in the bag. So I had to wait till for Jordan to come back from sightseeing to once again have the team meeting again and confront him about the $20.
And what happened at that meeting?
This is when his whole attitude really flipped on me. He, matter of fact, told me that he had no intentions of returning the money, and I was kind of thrown aback, and I asked him, well, why? What's going on? Why would you take your teammate's money? And he said, well, somebody stole my iPod. And I said, Jordan, nobody stole your iPod. I said, I got 12 teenagers pretty much living out of a 12-passenger van. The van is a mess. Did you go down there and search it? He said no. I said, I'll tell you what, I am going to sleep. I'm tired. I've been coaching all day. I've been driving most of the time. I'm tired. You have till I wake up the next morning to go clean the van out to go get your iPod. If I get down there the next morning and I find that iPod, it belongs to me now because I had to pay the kid the $20 to keep the peace. And I basically told him he sold his iPod for $20.
So you said, I returned the $20 that you stole to the young man. If I go down and find your iPod, the iPod belongs to me.
Yes, ma'am.
And you went down, and lo and behold, what'd you find in the van?
First thing, when I opened the door, I looked under the seat where he was sitting, and there's a beautiful iPod sitting right under the seat where he was sitting at.
So what'd you do with it?
I walked up to the room, pretty upset still. I'm a coach. I get kind of animated. And I told him, I said, look, you got to the next morning when we get back home in Bakersfield. Bring me my $20, or the iPod is mine, and I'll do with it whatever I want to.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Would you think if you saw a wallet sitting over there, you had the right to go into a wallet and take money?
No.
Of course not. Where do you think he gets that from?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Jordan Washington says his former basketball coach, Devin Johnson, stole his iPod. Devin says he was trying to teach Jordan a lesson, and he is countersuing for an unpaid loan.
Now, Jordan, why didn't you return the $20 to the coach? I believe what he says, that he said to you, I have your iPod. When we get back to Bakersfield, give me the $20 back, because nobody stole your iPod. You just dropped it on the floor. Just give me back the $20, and I'll give you the iPod. Otherwise, I'm going to sell the iPod or do whatever I want to do with it, and I'll pay myself back. Why didn't you just give him back the $20?
I didn't have the $20 at the time.
What'd you do with it?
I already spent it.
On what?
Vegas. It was Vegas. Spent it.
May I say something, Your Honor?
Yes.
And actually, mind you, when he left to leave with us to Vegas, he didn't have his tournament money, and he had no money in his pocket. My wife felt sorry for him and was giving him spending money during that time just to put something in his pocket. So he didn't even have to steal from the boy. It might not have been a lot of money, but it was $10 here, $10 there, and that Jordan, he didn't appreciate that.
Did the Johnsons give you any money when you were traveling?
They gave me approximately $10. They gave me $10 to eat, okay?
Go ahead, Ms. Williams.
Actually, Your Honor, I was purchasing him food, as other boys. He wasn't the only one. Some of them had more money than others. When they wanted to go sightsee, I gave him money. I gave that day, over the time, I gave over a couple $100s. I'm giving 10 here, 15 here, and buying their meals.
You have some source of revenue from this team?
No.
No, actually, Your Honor, it's just a neighborhood traveling team. I just started to try to help at-risk kids in our community.
How is it funded?
By car washes, and then whatever we don't make up on car wash, we've split amongst the kids, and they have to come up with $20, $25, whatever to travel.
Well, how do you get the van? The van is more than $20, $25.
Through car washes, we kick in some money. You know, we just do what's necessary. Actually, Your Honor, I have a little article and some stuff that has, to show that we've been doing it for 8 years now. We're very serious about trying to make a difference.
How long were you on the team, Jordan?
I say about 3 months.
How long were the other kids on the team?
Since they were young, childhood.
What?
When Jordan told me what had happened, Jordan, I, and a friend had met with Mr. Johnson at the park. We waited till he finished Little League football. He was coaching. And I talked to him about the iPod. He told me what had happened. And he never once brought up that Jordan owed him any money. I asked him for the iPod back. He said that he had sold it. I said, well, you're either going to have to give him the iPod back or the money. And he just basically said, take him to court. And he went on and on about street justice, and I'm from the hood, and this is how we deal with that. And I said, I don't care where you're from. Legally, you're not supposed to hold somebody's property in payment of anything.
You're right.
Excuse me.
Just a second. You're right. But what I want to know, Ms. Harris, is what did you do and say to your son with regard to stealing this boy's money because he was angry?
I told Jordan he was wrong and he was going to have to accept responsibility.
Did he give the money back?
And no money was ever mentioned to me.
Listen to me. You didn't hear my question, Miss Harris.
Did he give the money back?
Did he give the money back to the boy who he stole it from?
No, he didn't.
Well, you come back to me, Miss Harris, when your son gives back the $20 to the boy who he stole from. You come back to me and ask for some justice from the court. Do you understand?
Yes.
You can't come into a court and say, I stole, but there are no consequences. And somebody who, in effect, took the law into his own hands and decided what an appropriate response would be in his capacity as coach, I think it was wrong. Put your hand down, sir. I think it was wrong. But he doesn't have clean hands. He sort of thinks it was okay because he thought somebody stole his iPod. It was okay for him to steal out of somebody's wallet. Would you think if you saw a wallet sitting over there, you had the right to go into a wallet and take money?
No.
Of course not. Where do you think he gets that from?
He basically was trying to get the iPod back.
No. That had nothing to do with it. You're making excuses for him, Miss Harris. That's an excuse. He just said to me he was mad because he thought somebody stole his iPod, so he was going to steal somebody's money.
Yes.
There were 12 people. I mean, more likely than not, he lost it rather than somebody stealing it. As it happened, that's what happened. He lost it. He found it, but he didn't even bother to look for it. Wasn't right under his nose, so he assumed somebody stole it. But that doesn't give him the right to go and steal somebody's money. So you come to me after your son pays back the $20 to the boy who he stole from. Then I'm going to entertain his case for the return of his iPod. You understand each other, Jordan?
Yes.
Perfect. How long ago did you steal this money?
It was during the trip, July 7th.
You've had almost a year to return the money.
The boy and I made arrangements.
To what?
To where I would have to, like, help him with his homework. I go to the same high school as he do.
And?
He struggles in a subject, and I help him, and the debt is already paid off. Instead of paying him $20, I helped him on his homework.
Why didn't you pay him back his $20 and help him with his homework anyway?
Your Honor, I find it real funny that he says he helped this man with his homework. Jordan has been in 5 schools in the last 4 years because of academic and failing grades. Caleb is a top-notch student. There's no way this young man is going to help that kid with his homework. He's 50 credits behind in school. I tried to help him out with coaching my football team to earn 10 more credits. He didn't complete that.
Does that sound right, Mr. Washington?
That's not true.
What subjects were you helping Caleb in?
Algebra, math.
Algebra is math.
Yes.
Come to me with proof, sir, that you, in fact, paid back the $20, and I'll hear your claim with regard to the return of your iPod. Mr. Johnson, it is your claim that you advanced some money to Jordan.
Yes, Your Honor.
You can't create a debt with a minor.
I understand that, Your Honor, but...
Unless his mother agreed to repay you.
Can I tell you how that came about?
Absolutely.
During that time, Caleb was living with his father. I had never met the mother until after this incident, okay? When I brought Jordan home, I presented the iPod to his dad. It was not received because there was a question to where he got the iPod from.
What do you mean it wasn't received?
Well, when I tried to give the iPod to his father said, I don't want it because I don't know where my son got it from, and through his investigation, he couldn't find out where he got it from. So he would not take the iPod back. So that's when I decided I had to go ahead and sell it because it was a question. When can I bring my counterclaim up?
I asked you about it, but you were hell-bent on telling me this story, which isn't, as it happens, an interesting story.
Now, when I'm suing for the counterclaim, he didn't have his tournament money. It was agreed upon, what I assumed his parents, that when we returned.
With whom?
Well, at the time, it was his father, but I didn't know his mother was involved in his life at the time. So I didn't know, if it was either one. Whoever has supposed to have custody of them now. But on top of that,
tournament money, sir, is not unnecessary. It's not food, clothing, or shelter. So you can't hold Miss Harris responsible.
he needed food and shelter while he was in Vegas.
But you didn't make an agreement with her
Okay.
to take him on a tournament. You made an agreement
That's fine.
with his father.
I concede that, no problem. Now, I have another question now that I'm going for harassment, because him, his mother, and the boyfriend approached my practice, disrupted my practice, and were claiming about the iPod, and then totally...
You better stop doing that, Miss Harris. Do you understand?
Yes.
Your son is a thief. He stole money. That's what you should be concerned about. I don't know if he stole the iPod. I believe the story Mr. Johnson tells me that his father says, I'm not touching this iPod because I don't know where he got it from. Because certainly I didn't give him $300 for an iPod. And I assume that at the time he was living with his father. Is that right?
No, he was there on summer vacation with his father.
I assume he was living with his father at the time.
Yes.
That's living with. Summer. You mean June, July, and August?
Yes.
Okay. So he was living with his father and he wasn't sure. Did you give him $300 for an iPod?
No.
Was he working?
Yes.
Where?
Paper route.
When?
He's been doing the paper route since '07.
And so the money he got from the paper route he used to buy the iPod, is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Did you tell that to your father?
No, my father knew nothing about the iPod.
He says he went to return it.
Until that's the only time he knew about an iPod, me having an iPod.
Your Honor, when his father called me, called me and told me about the incident in Vegas, he never mentioned to me about an iPod or about Coach D having his iPod. Him and Coach D are friends. They've known each other for years. And he basically didn't want to get involved because Jordan is his son and the coach is his friend.
Miss Harris, who started this problem?
Jordan, by stealing.
Right. Your emphasis should be on your son's conduct.
Yes, ma'am. He's basically a good kid, and this never happened before.
Fine. If he's basically a good kid and this never happened before, fine. But don't make excuses. And the fact that it sounds to me like Mr. Johnson donates a lot of time to the community to try to do good things, right?
Yes, but it was wrong what he did.
Yes, it was wrong what he did. He didn't steal. He exercised bad judgment with regard to teaching your son a lesson.
Yes.
That's different from stealing. That's different from a conscious act of trying to deprive someone else of their property knowing it's the wrong thing to do. And that's where your emphasis should be. And I suggest you and your son and your boyfriend stay away from Mr. Johnson. And if you want to see me again, you'll come back to see me again, having established to my satisfaction that your son's debt is paid. Do we understand each other?
Yes. Can I say one more thing?
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, it's case number 21 on, case number 121 on the calendar in the matter of Boer versus Reese.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
Mr. Boer, the defendant's dog bit you.
Yes, ma'am.
You want to be compensated for that?
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant suggests that it's your fault. Where did this happen?
It happened March 7th at 12:05 p.m.
And what were you doing?
I was walking my little beagle hound around the corner from where I've lived for 40 years.
And how long have you had the beagle?
About 2 years.
Do you know how long the defendant's been living in her house?
I used to know the guy that lived there. He was a good lifelong friend of mine, and he died a couple years ago. So I'd say probably maybe 2.5 years.
Is that right, Miss Reese?
No, not at all.
How long have you been living there?
It'll be a year this August.
And how many dogs do you have?
2.
What kind are they?
I have a red miniature Doberman Pinscher and a black lab mix.
How big is the black lab?
About 70 pounds.
Is that the one that bit you?
Yes, ma'am.
How old is that dog?
Almost 2 years old.
Dog was in your fenced yard?
Yes, ma'am.
How could it bite the defendant if it was in your fenced yard?
Because he stood at the end of my driveway like he's done on several times with his little dog, taunting them.
How could he bite him if he was in your fenced yard?
He cleared the fence and went after him.
Your dog jumped over the fence?
Yes, ma'am.
How many times in the past has your dog jumped the fence?
Never.
Was the fence installed by you?
No, ma'am, it came with the house. I have a steel locking cable on it and a sign that says beware of dog. I also have a sign on my front porch that says no trespassing.
Well, you're not suggesting that Mr. Boer was on your porch?
No, not at all. But I've had to, when I last August, I acquired the house on the 12th. And a few days after that, approximately around the 19th, Mr. Boer here was in my front yard. To the left, there's a big tree, and he was doing drugs. And I asked him to stay away from my property. Several times I've had to ask him to stay away from my property.
I want you to tell me exactly, Miss Reese, what you claim he was doing standing near your tree. And I want you to tell me so that a person of my limited intellect will believe you.
He had a pipe in his hand, a little silver pipe approximately 2 inches long with a lighter, and he was smoking it.
Your Honor, I don't do drugs.
Mr. Boer, I want to ask you a couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I'm trying to figure out who she is. Are you still employed, sir?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a machinist.
Do you work for someone?
Yes, I work for On-Site Welding Company. We do machining, fabrication.
And how long have you worked for them?
17 years.
Who is this lady?
This is my mom.
Does she live in the house?
Yes.
How many people live in your house?
2.
Just you and your mother?
Yes.
What do you do for a living, Miss Reese?
I clean houses.
For your own company?
For myself, yes, independently.
And who else lives in your house with you?
My 3 daughters, my fiance, my father, and my 18-year-old brother, who I've had for a few years now.
And how big is the house?
It's 2 bedrooms on the main level, loft, and a refurbished basement.
You have a picture of your dog?
I do.
I'd like to see it.
Would you like all of them? I have several of the house and the dog.
I could look at it.
There you go.
What is this supposed to show me?
That's a picture of his teeth.
Okay. Now, tell me what happened on March 4th, Mr. Boer, as you were walking your beagle.
I was walking my little beagle up the hill.
Don't look down there.
Okay.
Look
all of a
over
sudden, I seen the dog jump the fence to come after my dog. It was going to try to kill it, so I scooped her up in my arms, and all I could do was hold her. The dog tore my coat right here and tried to jerk me down. It snipped me 3 times on this leg, and finally it sunk its teeth, which I have pictures, and I have a police report, and also I have a report from the health department that the dog never even had its rabies shots, never had a collar, never had nothing.
Can I see first the photographs, then the police report, and then the report from the health department?
Police report. Health department. And by the way, the dog, to my knowledge, is half pit bull and half chow. I actually know some people that she got the dog from.
Listen to me.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Don't give me hearsay information.
Okay.
Unless you have proof that that's the kind of dog it is.
I have proof of what kind of dog it is, Your Honor.
From the place you bought it? Or the
No,
place
I
you bought it?
rescued the dog. The people that on the house I used to live in, they were abusing him, trying to make him fight, and I took the dog myself.
You said you had proof what kind of dog it is.
I took him to a vet.
And they did a DNA test on him?
I don't know about that. I know they classified him as a black Labrador Retriever mix.
Oh, okay, good. How long have you had him?
Almost 2 years.
Okay. Did you show the police the shot records for your dog?
I did.
Oh, the police report says that all shots appear to be up to date, but the Norwood City Health Department indicates that the dog is being quarantined because the shots were not up to date with rabies.
It's a standard procedure to quarantine all
I'm
dogs.
just telling you what it says.
Yes, ma'am. It was the time for me to go and get him his new shots.
So the answer is it wasn't up to date.
No,
which is why
he was due 3 days after this incident, and I couldn't take him because they quarantined him. I had to wait for the quarantine to be over.
Who was home when this incident took place?
Myself, my 3 daughters, my daughter's boyfriend.
Were you at home?
Yes, ma'am.
Stand up. Tell me your name.
Charlotte Rook.
How old are you?
17.
Go to school?
I just graduated.
What are you doing now?
I am working currently at Wendy's in Norwood. I plan to attend school in the fall.
Okay, do you remember the 7th of March?
Yes, ma'am.
What were you doing at around 4 o'clock?
Around 4, I was at home just Hanging out.
Hanging out where?
In my living room.
Were you hanging out with anybody else?
My boyfriend and my sisters.
Was the television on? Music on?
The TV was on, but we weren't really paying it any attention.
Did you hear your dog barking outside?
I didn't hear my dog barking. I heard my mom scream.
Just a second. Just answer my questions.
Okay.
Did you hear your dog barking?
No, ma'am.
Is the living room, I have the pictures of your house, in the front or the back of the house?
It's in the front.
And this attack took place in the front of the house?
Yeah.
And you heard no dog barking?
No, I didn't hear him barking.
Did you hear anything from the front of the house?
I heard my mom scream.
Where was she when you heard her scream?
She was running outside to grab our dogs.
What was she screaming?
She screamed, "Oh, Charlotte." I'm sorry, that's what she
Perfect.
said.
Perfect.
Not acceptable.
Perfect. Say nothing.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So you weren't in the front, unless your daughter's a liar.
No.
So which one is it? Is your daughter a liar, or you were not in the front when you heard the commotion?
And later today,
There is something wrong with you. I don't know whether you're just dense or whether you figure I got to make up a good story so that I have a defense. I really don't know. I mean, if you believe it, then you're dense.
Boer says neighbor Christine Reese owes for medical bills and property damage due to a dog attack.
Okay. And she ran out.
Yes.
Through the living room, through the front door?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you do next?
I ran outside. Me, my sisters, and my boyfriend all ran outside.
And I just want you to tell me what you saw
What I saw, okay.
when you got outside.
When I got outside,
So look over there. Look over here.
the Ernest right here, he was running down the street. He wouldn't show us any bite marks.
No, not what he wouldn't show. I just want you to tell me.
He was going down the street screaming that he was going to come back and shoot my dogs. Me, my mom, and my sisters and my boyfriend were standing there.
No. Just listen to what I asked you. I didn't ask you who was standing there. I just want you to answer my questions. You ran outside and you saw the plaintiff running down the street.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what you saw. And what did you hear him say?
I heard him saying he would be back to shoot my dogs.
Where was the little dog?
With him.
No, your
My dog?
little dog.
My little dog, he was outside too. He squeezed through the gate. He was little enough too.
So both of your dogs were out.
Yes, ma'am.
Now you can sit down.
Okay.
And where were you?
When it all happened?
Yes.
I was actually standing looking out my front window because I have a plant.
No. Is your daughter a liar?
No.
You ran through the house, through where she was sitting with a boyfriend and everybody else, and ran outside. So
Yes,
you weren't
ma'am,
in
I
the
did.
front. You were not in the front, unless your daughter's a liar.
No.
So which one is it? Is your daughter a liar, or you were not in the front when you heard the commotion?
Well,
Don't look over there.
I see
Look over
him
here.
through my front window standing out front is the reason I ran out the door. Because he's done it before with his dog, and that's why I ran.
Miss Reese, you're not telling me the truth.
I am telling you the truth.
No, you're not. You want to know why? Because what you say here is he was taunting your dogs. Now, you weren't in the front. She was in the front of the house and wasn't paying attention to a TV that was on, just hanging out. And what you say, which I didn't believe, is that he was standing there and screaming at your dogs, "Get him, boy, get him, boy." That's what you say. That's
was.
not, no, baloney. That's not what she says. The first thing she heard was you running through the house, running outside, and screaming just 2 words. That she heard. She didn't hear anything else. She didn't hear him standing there with his dog. And you'd have to be a lunatic to stand there with your dog provoking something to happen, to get injured. Your dog got out. The fence wasn't strong enough for either one of your dogs, either for the big one or for the little one. You choose to have a big dog, you better make darn sure that that dog's not in a situation where it can hurt anybody. Judge him for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
As far as me being a troublemaker in my city,
I will go and get a restraining order for him not to be anywhere near my home.
no, they're wrong.
Because he still continues to come by.
No, I'll carry my steel pipe with me next time their dog comes around.
But he's yet terrified of my dog.
It might get hit.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Curley versus Simmons Hudson. Step forward.
Robert Curley is suing his ex-girlfriend, Therese Simmons, and her son, 18-year-old Carlton Hudson. Robert says he loaned his car to Therese, and she returned it damaged.
Mr. Curley, you and Miss Simmons were in a relationship for a period of time. This is her son. Is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
correct?
That is correct.
And while you were in that relationship, she bought a car. The loan was in your name.
That's correct.
When you separated and the relationship terminated, you indicated to her that she could keep the car if she made the payments.
That is correct.
Or she could return it to you,
Yes, ma'am.
and then you would pay it off.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
far, is that correct?
That is correct, ma'am.
Is that the gist of your arrangement with him?
Yes, ma'am.
And when were you supposed to return the car to him?
By the end of March.
Did you make March's payment?
No.
Why?
I returned the car to him on February the 23rd.
You returned the car to him on February 23rd. In what condition?
My son had actually used the car to go to work, and
In what condition?
It was wrecked.
It was wrecked. When you made the arrangement to return the car to him at the end of March, was the car wrecked?
No.
So he said, return this perfectly good car to me. I will sell it and either get rid of the loan or I'll take care of it.
Yes, ma'am.
Or you keep it and make the payments. You made a decision to return it to him. Before you returned it to him, your son wrecked the car.
That is correct.
And he wants the payoff on the loan. That's what you want.
No, Your Honor, actually the loan is for the total payoff on the loan or the vehicle is $8,900. I just wanted to get the money back, being reimbursed for the damages of the car.
And how much were the damages?
$4,114, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues.
You wrecked the car?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Why isn't it your responsibility to fix this car? Speak.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robert Curley says 18-year-old Carlton Hudson drove his car without permission and wrecked it. Carlton and his mother claim it's Robert's responsibility to fix the vehicle.
Now, who let the insurance lapse on the car?
The insurance lapse on the car? I had liability insurance on the car.
Well, you can't have just liability insurance on a car if you have a loan outstanding on a car. You're supposed to have both.
That's correct.
Why didn't you have both?
The car was not in my name. I was only able to carry liability. And
Wait,
with
that's
being
not true. What do you mean you're only able? You mean you only could afford to carry?
That is correct.
Well, that's a different story. It's not that you weren't able to get insurance that involved both collision and liability. You chose not to.
That is correct.
You chose not to. You wrecked the car?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And you wrecked the car during a storm?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And you totaled the other car?
Not totaled. It did have some damages to it, which our insurance did take care of.
Because your mother had liability insurance. So you explain to me why it's not your responsibility to return to Mr. Curley a car in reasonable condition that just suffered from normal wear and tear, which he should be prepared to accept because that was his arrangement. Why isn't it your responsibility to fix this car? Speak.
Your Honor, honestly, I don't think this has anything to do with the car. First of all, I think...
No, I don't care what you think.
Yes, ma'am.
What you think is totally irrelevant to me.
Yes, ma'am.
You wrecked the car. It's now his responsibility.
Right.
He doesn't get the same value as he would have before you wrecked the car. Now you explain to me why it's not your responsibility and or your mother's responsibility to make him whole, since it was your fault that this accident happened in the first place.
Okay. I was called into work unexpectedly.
I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care.
Yes, ma'am.
You were driving the car. Your mother chose not to have collision insurance. Her choice. There's only one innocent party. That's him. You explain to me why you shouldn't pay to have the car fixed.
Well, he took back the car directly after that, which my mom had already paid $7,000 on.
Your mother used the car for how long?
2.5 years.
Consider it a really cheap rental.
Exactly, Your Honor.
No, not exactly. That wasn't your arrangement that you were renting a car from him. Your arrangement was when you finished paying it off, it would be your car.
Right.
You chose to change the rules.
Right.
Fine. That was your agreement. Before that time, you allowed someone else to drive the car and wreck it. So now you're going to explain to me in a language that I understand why you're not responsible and he's not responsible for fixing Mr. Curley's car.
Because I have paid for rental use, whatever you want to call for the car, for $7,000 plus the upkeep on this car. At any time, Robert Curley could come to my home and take the car.
There's something wrong with you. There is something wrong with you. I don't know whether you're just dense or whether you figure I got to make up a good story so that I have a defense. I really don't know. I mean, if you believe it, then you're dense.
Okay.
Your son wrecked the car. You chose not to cover his loan by not having full coverage on the car, which you should have had. Then we wouldn't be standing here today. It was your choice.
Well, exactly. You just said it, that it was his loan, and if it is his loan, then full coverage insurance should be in his name.
You're an idiot.
Robert Curley.
I'm going to tell you something. I'm telling you something. That is the most idiotic response that I've heard. Are you getting nothing what I'm saying to you? Nothing what I'm saying to you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Now, you knew enough to get liability insurance.
Exactly, because he...
No. You knew enough to get liability insurance. You chose not to get collision because it was more money. You chose to have liability insurance because, God forbid, you got into an accident with the car. You would be covered. Your home, your job, nobody could get a judgment against you because you had to have liability insurance. And as far as he's concerned, you said, the hell with him. If I get into a car and the car's wrecked, I'm just going to give it back to him like a piece of junk. It's not my responsibility. The car's not in my name. No, loan's not in my name. Listen to me very carefully. You're a very lucky man that it didn't work out.
I appreciate that, Your Honor, and I agree. Totally.
Very lucky man, because either she, either she's slick or she's dense. Either way, you don't need her. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $41.14. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy is suing her former friend, 21-year-old Mitchell Ashburn, for the cost to replace her dashboard after his gun discharged in her car.
Order. All rise. Yes, case number 135 on the calendar in the matter of McLeary versus Ashburn.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss McLeary, Mr. Ashburn is a friend of yours. I assume he's still a friend of yours. You claimed that he caused some damage to a car as a result of a gun that he was carrying in the car, shooting into the dashboard accidentally. You want him to pay for the damage. He already paid for the windshield.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that what this case is about?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh,
He's
okay.
not a friend of mine right now, though. He's an ex-friend. We don't talk.
Oh. Is anything she said, Mr. Ashburn, not true?
I don't...
I'm asking you, are you still her friend?
No, I'm not her friend.
When was the last time you spoke to her? Look at me, Mr. Ashburn. When was the last time you spoke to her?
Probably sometime in January, I would say.
When did you pay for the windshield?
When she came and visited me in December.
Your Honor. Sorry.
Why did you pay for the windshield?
I mean, I really didn't want to, but she couldn't make it back home to Richmond if I didn't pay for the windshield.
Okay, so she was visiting you.
Yes.
And you live in Virginia?
Yes.
And she lives also in Virginia?
Yes.
How many miles from where you are?
About 75.
And she came to visit and spend how much time with you?
Well, her and her witness came and visited me and my twin brother.
Were you dating?
Well, we had met them in the club because we were all on a Christmas break.
Quiet.
The weekend before.
Yeah.
And they just came and visited.
You were on a Christmas break from where?
A school.
What school were you at?
I go to Norfolk State University.
And the plaintiff, where did she go to school?
Virginia Commonwealth University.
Now, she came to visit you, and this incident happened in December?
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
Pretty much, we were going into a neighborhood where, I didn't really feel that comfortable, so I brought my weapon.
What kind of weapon?
Smith & Wesson 40 SW.
What is that? And you don't need a license or anything in Virginia to carry that gun?
Yes. I mean, you have to register the gun, but I didn't have a concealed weapons license. That's why I had it in the open carry. It had to be visible. And pretty much we were leaving the party, you know what I'm saying?
What do you mean you were leaving? You had been to a party?
Yes.
And where did you leave the gun when you were at the party?
It was on my hip when we were in the party.
On your hip?
Yes.
Well, is that a concealed weapon?
No, because I wasn't concealing it because it was in the open carry. I was showing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think you kind of get what I'm saying.
How many other morons were carrying their guns at a party where everybody was drinking? Why are you laughing? I just want to know why you're laughing. Yeah. What is funny?
I guess nothing is funny, Your Honor. Probably no other morons were carrying the weapon, but I decided...
No. Great answer, Mr. Ashburn.
But I decided to take my, it was out of my better judgment, I guess. So we were leaving the party, you know what I'm saying? Her and her friend, they had been drinking. So I knew the area, so I decided to drive. So we got in the car, you know what I'm saying? I had put one in the head of the gun, like, just in case. That was also a bad decision. Her and her friend were uncomfortable with that when we got in the car, so they kind of wanted me to clear it. So I was just like, you know what I'm saying, let's just wait until we get to my house. We can handle all that, you know what I'm saying? We were driving, and, like, she was just going in. You know, like, people that have been drinking, they can be kind of abrasive, you know what I'm saying? So I was just like, yo, chill out.
Were you drinking?
Huh? No. I mean, I wasn't, nah. I mean, I can't really say that what I had drunk had been drinking. I might have had like a beer or two, that was it. I was good to drive, Your Honor. I was better than these two.
Take your hands off your hips.
Sorry, Your Honor.
So at this point, I had took the gun out the house that was laying in the, like, right beside me. And she was just like, make sure there's nothing in there, make sure there's nothing in there. I'm like, man, yo, chill out, let's just wait. So she then reaches for the gun. I actually pulled the trigger, and the bullet went through the windshield.
And you paid for the windshield?
Yes, I did. But I had never agreed to pay for the dashboard because to me that was ridiculous.
What was ridiculous?
The dashboard.
I don't understand. What do you mean it was ridiculous?
I mean, like, she wanted me to pay her $850 for it's like this big, like the hole in like the dashboard. I don't understand how that could accumulate to $850. But at the same time, I never went and got an estimate because I wasn't interested in paying for it.
I want to see the damage to the dashboard.
Here's the car, and here are the damages to the...
Just show me the damage to the dashboard.
Okay.
The windshield he paid for.
Mm-hmm.
So the windshield I'm not interested in. So you're talking about this little hole in the dashboard?
Yeah, but can I tell my side of the story now?
No, I'll ask you questions. You're talking about this little hole in the dashboard.
Top, if you look at the top of the dashboard, it exploded. It went from underneath and exploded. And I did go and get 2 estimates. The first one was almost $1,400 because they told me that I have to replace the whole thing because inside there's glass and the sponge is all cracked and broken. So I said $1,400 too much, and I went all over Richmond to go find a cheaper estimate so it'd be easier for him to pay me this money. And then I got an $800 estimate for
Why weren't you driving? Just listen to me.
Okay.
I'm going to ask questions now.
All right.
Why weren't you driving your car after the party?
Okay.
That requires an answer.
Okay,
Why weren't you driving, Miss McCleary, your car after the party?
Okay, because we're in Hampton, I did not know the place. He convinced me that it's easier for him to drive because he knows the ins and outs of the city, and we're turning, like, it was far from where we drove. So
And how much did you have to drink at the party?
I did not drink at all. I did not drink at all.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How many times have you gotten into a car with a friend where they put a gun on the console?
This is the first time, Your Honor.
And you go to college?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then you don't get into the car.
And later today.
I didn't understand a lot of this case, and I'm going to figure out what's going on here because a lot of it doesn't sound kosher to me. And if something doesn't sound kosher to me, it usually is because something's not right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tasia McCleary says former friend Mitchell Ashburn owes for the cost to replace her dashboard after his gun accidentally discharged in her car.
Now, you didn't drink at all. When you got into the car to go to the party, where was the gun?
He got in the car and he put it in between us.
Just a second. So you saw the gun that was there?
Yeah.
You saw it there?
Mm-hmm.
Did it make you uncomfortable?
I did. It did make me uncomfortable.
Why did you go to the party with him?
I don't know, weird. I was just in the moment. We're all having fun. We're just friends. I went to the party. I told him the gun makes me uncomfortable.
Then you shouldn't have gotten into the car.
Okay.
You shouldn't have gotten into the car.
Your Honor, he says he has a license for the gun. I figured he wouldn't be an idiot. He told me that he can't conceal it. He said it has to be shown.
No, my
just
dear,
in case
let me tell you something. How many other people at the party that you were at were walking? No. Listen to my question. How many other people at the party that you saw were walking around with a gun on their hip?
No one else.
No one else.
This guy.
No one else. How many times have you gotten into a car with a friend, male or female, where they put a gun on the console?
This is the first time, Your Honor.
And you go to college?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then you don't get into the car?
Your Honor, I just trusted him. He said he had a license. He knows how to use it. I said to him, I'm uncomfortable. The whole T, moved it. And then, oh my gosh, I was an idiot for trusting him. But I did tell him I was uncomfortable with it. He assured me he knew how to use it.
Being uncomfortable with it is not action. Mm-hmm. Being uncomfortable with it says, I'm not getting into a car with you or your gun.
Okay. All right.
Easy.
It's true. That's true. But he was all, this place, trust me, we needed him. Then I'm like, why are we going to a place that you need a gun? Nobody else has a gun. I don't understand.
Right, that for sure wouldn't have gotten into a car.
Nobody else has a gun. He's like, he has to have
Did you get a new windshield?
Pardon me?
Did you get a new windshield?
Yeah, I did.
Good. That's what you get.
No.
That's what you get. He paid for the windshield?
Your Honor, yeah, but then he agreed to pay for everything else, though.
You take care of the
But he agreed to pay for it. I'm going to show you. He has text messages of agreeing to paying for it. Your Honor, he has text messages agreeing to pay for it.
She's a liar. I mean, it came out in court.
Oh my gosh, he texted me saying he's gonna pay for it.
I never texted her. I haven't talked to her since January.
He caught the bullet back, forgetting that he caught the bullet back.
She grabbed it, like I said in court,
to prove to me that he didn't do it.
It's all how you handle it. And that day, I just made the wrong decision.
He pulled the trigger like a jack.
They just started panicking, which, I mean, we all started panicking. It was scary.
Exactly what she said happened is everything that happened.
Luckily, it didn't hit anyone, but we all need to take it as like a lesson learned.
As a matter of fact, when he shot the bullet and it went through the dashboard, the shot hit me in my leg.
Don't carry a weapon around at the wrong time.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Melvin versus Melvin step forward.
Jennifer Melvin is suing her ex-husband, Larry Melvin, for an unpaid loan to buy a semi-truck.
What kind of work do you do, Miss Melvin?
Long-haul truck driver?
No, I'm looking at her. Say nothing. What kind of work do you do?
I'm a driver.
A driver for what?
Truck driver.
How long have you been licensed as a truck driver?
Almost 15 years.
When were you and Mr. Melvin married, and what month and year?
August of '99.
And when were you divorced?
It was legal in...
what year were you divorced?
September of '06.
And when did you last live together?
In '05.
What are the names of your children?
Austin, Riley, Cameron, and I have a 3-year-old, Gavin.
Could you explain something to me? You remember signing this complaint?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you read it? How many children does it say you have?
2 between the 2 of us, but I have 4. You asked me for my children. I'm sorry.
How many children does it say you have?
2.
2. Give it back to me, please. The judgment of divorce states as follows in the first paragraph. The court finds that there are 3 minor children of this marriage, Austin, Riley, and Cameron. Would you explain that to me?
Austin is not biologically Larry's.
The court found that there are 3 minor children of this marriage. You were the plaintiff. You must have filed the papers.
Yes, ma'am.
And in the papers, you wrote that there were 3 children of the marriage.
Yes, ma'am.
You did not contest that divorce.
No,
is that correct?
That is correct.
So what happened between the divorce and the time you swore to this complaint?
I didn't understand that I should have put Austin in there.
Mm-hmm. You were a truck driver for 15 years. How long have you been a truck driver, Mr. Melvin?
25.
Did you own trucks together with your wife?
At one point, yes.
What point?
Around 04. we bought a truck, and then again in 2006, end of 2006.
And that was subsequent to your divorce?
Yes.
So you were in business together?
Somewhat, yes.
Don't say somewhat yes. I'm asking you a question. I didn't understand a lot of this case, and I'm going to figure out what's going on here, because a lot of it doesn't sound kosher to me. Do you understand?
Yes.
And if something doesn't sound kosher to me and doesn't look kosher to me, it usually is because something's not right. We understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
We understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
So you and your husband and then ex-husband were in business together at the time you co-signed for a loan on a truck that you bought together for business in 2006. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's not what you say in your complaint. You understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
There was no child support in your judgment of divorce.
We had
very, very unusual. And it didn't contain child support for a reason. So somebody is going to tell me the reason.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jennifer Melvin says, ex-husband Larry Melvin owes for a loan to buy a semi-truck. Larry is countersuing for the return of the truck in question.
All right, so the first thing that you did is you lied in your complaint, which I don't like, because it didn't sound right to me, didn't smell right to me. You know what you wrote in your complaint.
That I helped him purchase the vehicle.
No. He asked you to help him get a loan for his business. He didn't have good enough credit to do it on his own. Since I wanted him to continue to provide for our 2 children, I agreed to help him get a loan on a semi. But that's not true, because you're a truck driver as well, and this was a business that you and your husband were in together.
But the agreement that we had was that
All I'm asking you is, you were in business together on this truck. All right, let me put it to you another way. How many people drove that truck?
1.
Who?
Larry.
And what did you get out of it?
Child support.
There was no child support in your judgment of divorce.
We had
very, very unusual. Subsequent to the child support guidelines for a judgment of divorce not to contain child support. And it didn't contain child support for a reason. So somebody is going to tell me the reason, because you're a business lady.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're going to explain to me, so that I understand it, the reason why your judgment of divorce didn't provide for child support, why the 2 of you purchased a truck that was in whose name?
Both of ours.
In 2006. Both of your names, and the loan was in both of your names, and the truck, according to you, was purchased so that he could continue paying child support that wasn't contained in your divorce judgment.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So it wasn't a loan to him, which is really what you're suing for. It was a business venture. And it was all fine in 2006, 2007, 2008. And then what happened?
He quit making the payment on the truck, and I started getting phone calls from the loan company that
Just
they
a second. 2006, 2007, 2008. He was giving you money for the children?
The truck wasn't purchased to 07.
Just a second.
And
I'm asking you a question. In 2006, 2007, and 2008, was he giving you money for the children?
Yes, ma'am.
How much?
$500 a month, except for in 06, because we had the children 50-50.
Did you ever give her any more than $500 a month, Mr. Melvin?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
When did you give her more than $500 a month?
Whenever I got taxes back, I gave her pretty much all my taxes one year. I don't remember what year it was. If she needed something extra, if the kids needed clothes, I'd go purchase them clothes. If she asked for extras, when things were good, I would give her the money. No, I don't have any receipts for it.
And this was from the trucking business that you were involved in?
Correct.
Using the truck that the 2 of you purchased together?
Correct.
As a business? Mm-hmm. Now, did you file a business return in 2007?
Yes.
How many people are listed as people involved in your business?
Just her and I.
Just the 2 of you?
Correct.
That's because you were in business together?
Correct.
See? All becomes clear. And you were in business together subsequent to your divorce.
Yes.
And you now have 1 truck.
There's 2 trucks involved.
You now have
I now have one truck. Correct.
And she took back the other truck.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes, it is, but I would like to point out in 08...
And so what your lawsuit, let me just give you what the lawsuit is. The lawsuit is that you made him a loan, that you allowed him to use your credit He purchased this truck. He stopped making payments. You made the payments on the truck and then took back, according to him, one of the trucks, the truck that was purchased in 2004, you say is collateral for your child support. I don't think so.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to JudgeJudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Okay, so now you have a 2006 truck and you have a 2004 truck.
Your Honor, in 2008, he took the business over in his name solely.
Show me.
I didn't bring that paperwork.
Miss Melvin?
He changed the name,
Miss
everything.
Melvin, that may be. In 2008, did he make payments on the truck?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he send you child support?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you have your third child with another man?
In 2007?
And he changed the business in 2008?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Melvin, I do not consider this a loan, madam. You now have a 2004 truck? Sell it.
It's collateral for his vehicle, and I can't until his loan is paid.
Listen, if you two people entered into a business venture and the business venture didn't go well because of the problems with the economy, you don't create a fairy tale. This is a fairy tale, and I don't buy it. Do you understand? Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Yeah, this is case number 55 on the calendar in the matter of McCracken versus Hunter. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
I have a complaint and a cross-complaint for car damage based upon only what I can call road rage.
Yes, ma'am.
Each of you claimed that the other, in an act of road rage, damaged your car. And I have complaint by you, Miss McCracken, in the amount of almost $4,500, and you in almost $4,000 to your car. So each of you are going to have 3 minutes to tell me first your story, and then I have some questions. Go.
It was on March the 29th at 8 o'clock. I was headed to work, and I was merging onto I-30, and there was 2 lanes that merged into one, and Mr. Hunter cut me off. So I thought, no big deal, because it happens in traffic, and I went on my way, and I went over to the left-hand lane, and he attempted to cut me off again. So I honked my horn, and he flipped me off, and I returned the gesture. He then got behind me, went around to my driver's side door, rolled down his window, and started throwing what looked like pieces of brick or large rocks at my vehicle. So I got on the right-hand lane of the shoulder so he could pass. He didn't pass. He got out of his vehicle with what looked like a piece of rebar or a tire tool and began striking my vehicle. He busted out the windshield. I called 911. He hit it several more times. I decided to leave. As I was passing him by, he hit the passenger side of my vehicle again with this tire tool. So I got onto the highway and I got on the far left-hand lane. And can I show you on the diagram? I was in the far left-hand lane. He comes behind me, he gets onto the shoulder and passes me, sideswiping my vehicle, and then getting in front of me and slamming his brakes on, and I hit him from behind. And he got out of his vehicle at that point and started hitting my vehicle again. So I backed up down the shoulder about 50 to 60 yards waiting for the police to show up. 3 patrol cars showed up, and they took my statement, and they took pictures of the vehicle, and I have that police report.
Not what happened at all, Your Honor. True, we were merging from 35 to 30. She's the one who went around me and stopped in front of me. I went to go around her. She cut me off, stopped in front of me again, and hit her brakes. So I got in front of her, pulled over to the shoulder, got out of my vehicle to find out what the problem was. As I stepped...
Just stop there.
Yes, ma'am.
If you got out of your vehicle, was her car stopped?
Yes, she was stopped on the shoulder behind me.
She was stopped behind you?
Yes.
So you could have just kept going. Just answer my question.
Right. Yes, I could have quit going, but I did not know if she was having the problem. She needed me to pull over for some reason. I had no idea what the problem was.
Get over it. Are you...
I'm not angry. I'm not upset. I just stopped to see what the problem was.
You think I believe that?
Yes. Why wouldn't you? It's what happened.
No. Okay. That I don't believe.
Okay.
That I don't believe. I don't believe that you've been playing cat and mouse with each other for even 2 blocks, and you got out to see what was wrong. I'm not saying she behaved properly, but I read the complaint and I read the answer, and the only person who got out of their car physically was you.
Correct.
You got out of your car and walked over to her car.
No,
you want me to read
that's not
you
what happened.
Yeah?
I didn't walk over to her car. I got out of my vehicle, and as I stepped out of my vehicle, she drove towards my body.
I started to walk over to the truck, thinking they might have been trying to get my attention for some reason.
Correct.
I started to walk over to the truck. That's what you swore
Meaning
to.
I stepped out of my vehicle, closed the door, and I hadn't even reached the back of my vehicle yet.
Started to walk over to her car.
Right.
Yeah, no.
How would I find out if there's a problem without walking over to her vehicle and asking her?
What, are you asking me? I don't answer your questions.
But I mean, that's why
Mr.
I walked
Hunter,
over there.
I don't answer your questions.
Okay.
Who is this?
This is my witness who saw that what she's saying is not what happened.
He was not there, Your Honor. His 8-year-old daughter was in the vehicle.
My daughter's not 8.
Well, his young daughter was in the vehicle and witnessed this.
Name?
Larry Burdett.
Where were you, Mr. Baguette?
I was on I-30 traveling westbound as well, and I saw a truck at about 2 o'clock from me, and I was taking my daughter to school. I said, look at the crazy person in that truck messing with that little car, and she said, oh my, that's my friend Tabitha and her dad. And
go ahead.
The truck was going back and, going fast and then hitting the brakes so that he was in an exit-only lane and he could not get over, and then she was also swerving at him.
Right. And then what did you see?
Well, then I got in the left-hand lane, went around, and was looking at him because it looked like there was about to be an accident. And I looked in my rearview mirror, and the next thing I saw was a big cloud of smoke.
Now, Mr. Baguette, I want to ask you a question, sir. You had your child in the car?
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't have a child in the car, did you? And you had your child in the car?
Yes, I was taking her to school.
Were you taking your daughter to school?
Yes, ma'am.
You saw something on the highway that looked as if it might be potentially dangerous.
Correct.
Tell me what you did, Mr. Baguette.
I made an evasive maneuver.
You made an evasive maneuver to get away from what appeared to be a bad situation.
Correct.
And you did that because you had your child in the car.
Yes, ma'am.
And because you were acting responsibly.
Yes, ma'am.
And even though your daughter said to you, I know who's in that car. That's my friend, Tabitha, whatever her name is. And her father, you said, I'm not putting my daughter in harm's way. I'm taking her to school, right?
Correct.
That's not what he did. I'm not saying she behaved herself. No question in my mind she did not.
Yes, ma'am.
What I'm saying is when you have a child in your car, your testosterone is not supposed to get the best of you because you did not stop your car to walk over to us to find out, is there any reason why you were trying to get my attention? There are a lot of things you could have done because Mr. Baguette here, your witness, what are you looking at me for, Goofy?
I'm not. I'm just agreeing with you. I'm not in
Mr. Baguette,
yes.
Your witness says that she was acting in an erratic manner, so erratic that he wanted to get away from her, right?
Correct.
And you know what he did? He went over on the shoulder and got out of his car, leaving his child in the car. Does that sound intelligent to you?
Well, I don't know what I would have done. I would have been angry if that would have been me as well, but...
Did you stop your car?
No, ma'am.
Did you take your daughter to school?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you call the police?
No, ma'am, my daughter...
No. Did you call the police? You did what?
I got out of the way of that
Nothing.
situation.
You got out of the way of trouble.
Yes,
because it looked like at least one of these people was acting crazy.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
And you wanted to be a responsible parent.
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
Correct.
Gotcha. Thank you for being such a good witness for the defendant.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sit down.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
See that bone moving in there?
And?
I can't hit anything with his arm.
You take any medication?
Other than...
Do you take medication?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of medication?
Pain pills.
Knew that.
I take them all the time.
Know that too.
And later today...
If the roads were bad, why did you take the car out?
Being the guy that I am.
I don't care what kind of a guy you are. Why did you take the car out if the roads were bad?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Deborah McCracken says fellow motorist Christopher Hunter terrorized her and damaged her car during an incident of road rage. Christopher is countersuing for the damage to his car.
Each one of you go fix your own car.
But, Your Honor...
Go fix your own car.
Not a problem.
Fix your own car. I absolutely believe him.
He wasn't even there, Your Honor. Will you not even look at the... There was 911 tapes with people saw him hit my vehicle?
Listen to me.
I did nothing wrong, Your Honor.
I don't believe that.
I swear, I did nothing wrong.
No, I don't believe that.
I did nothing wrong.
Don't believe it. Fix
Will you
your
at
own
least
car.
look at the picture?
Oh, I absolutely believe that he hit your car. I absolutely believe that he did it. I absolutely believe that you were messing around with him.
I wasn't, Your Honor. I swear I was not.
Well, tell me about the flipping him off. Did you do that?
I did. I honked and he flipped me off. And
what do you mean honked? How did you honk?
I just honked. Because he was trying to merge in front of me and there was not enough room for him to get in, and I honked. And he flipped me off, and I flipped him back off.
I believe it. I believe that you acted badly, and I believe so did he. And I believe your cars both had damage, and I believe you could have made the whole thing go away.
I tried. I pulled over on the side of the road to get away from him, and he pulled over, and he got out with a tire tool, and he busted out my windshield. Can I show you the pictures?
Yeah.
And all the dents that he caused.
I can show you my arm where I'm disabled. It's physically impossible for me to do that.
Show me your arm. Yeah.
You see that bone moving in there?
And?
I can't hit anything with his arm.
Really? Maybe you shouldn't be driving.
Maybe I shouldn't, but they hadn't told me. I mean, there's no way I could hit
How do you
something.
earn a living?
I'm disabled.
What do you mean you're disabled?
Disabled. My arm is, didn't you see that? I can't. The state of Texas has determined me disabled, unable to work. They give me a check.
Because of?
Because there's bone missing in my arm. There's a big section. Do you not see that there? That is moving, is broke?
There are people that only have one arm that work. There are people that only have one arm that work.
It wasn't my decision. It was the state of Texas. I mean.
You mean they came and found you?
No, my doctors. My doctors told me I couldn't work.
What kind of work had you done?
Construction.
Construction?
Yes, physical work.
And how old are you?
41.
You had to think about that?
Yes.
You take any medication?
Other than.
Do you take medication?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of medication?
Pain pills.
Knew that.
I take them all the time.
Know that too. State of Texas shouldn't let you drive a car with all this pain medication you're taking.
Probably shouldn't.
Right, Mr. Burkett?
That may be right.
Maybe right?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I take a whole pain pill a day.
How many did you take today?
Took one this morning when I got up, just like I do every morning. One pain pill. Supposed to take 2 to 4 every 6 hours. I have pictures too proving that what she's saying there on that little report is false.
You have to stop taking so many pain pills, sir.
Okay.
You have to stop getting high.
That's probably why she read me, because I was taking pain pills.
You're right. Yeah, you have to stop.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sorry I was taking pain pills.
No, I know.
You ruined me. That's what you're saying.
I know what I'm saying.
Okay.
I know exactly what I'm saying. And 10 million people who are watching are right along with me.
You know what? You bring me a cup, I'll pee in it right now. You can see how many pain pills I'm taking.
State of Texas evidently thinks that there is only one kind of work that you can do when you're 39 years old. How long have you been collecting disability?
I'm 41.
No, you're 41 now. How long have you been collecting disability?
A couple years.
Going to support him for the next 40 years.
The only other training I have is I have a criminal justice degree to be a police officer. You can't do that.
Great. Get an orange vest and go be a greeter in Walmart.
Okay.
You can say hello, can't you?
Sure.
Go pay for your own damages.
Not a problem.
However, I believe that part of her damage was intentionally caused by you. Some was caused by her. But I believe that you damaged her windshield.
I did not.
I believe you damaged her windshield.
I understand you believe it, but I'm just telling you
How much was your windshield, Miss McCracken? State of Texas pays.
I believe it was $350. I just have the total estimate for both the vandalism and the collision here.
Let me see.
Are you interested in seeing pictures of the collision at all?
No, I'm not interested.
Would you be interested in my picture showing that what she's saying
I don't
is not
care
true?
about your pictures.
Okay.
I don't care about your pictures.
That's fine. I just didn't know if you wanted me to prove that she's saying she's not telling the truth.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That means that the state bought your car.
No,
I'm
ma'am.
not paying you. Sure.
No, they didn't. My sister bought me that car.
Well, then your sister's a fool.
Well, I wouldn't disagree with that.
And later today,
when I was going to turn, the car kind of slid off and it bumped the tree to my knowledge. So
what do you mean to your knowledge? You were the only one in the car. That the state bought your car.
No,
I'm
ma'am.
not paying you. Sure.
No, they didn't. My sister bought me that car.
Well, then your sister's a fool.
Well, I wouldn't disagree with that.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That ought to pay for your windshield. Your counterclaim's dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's crazy.
Everything she was saying there wasn't true.
I mean, he tried to bust out.
Okay.
কিচ্ছু নাই মেরি কিচ্ছু নেই প্রবলেম পাইছি
আমার নাইটের খেলতে পারতেছি
Like it, but I
Iri
like.
Scott, Uri.
Wow, thank you, but thank you.
ওদের দেখা এবার দিন
আরে মাইরে আমারও মারছে ওরেও মারছে।
এ ভাই কি করছেন? ঠিক করে গেল।
মুকুল ভাই মেরে দিল।
আরে আমি মারতে যাই মরলাম।
দুইটা ছিল ওই
আমি
জায়গায়।
একটা নক করছিলাম। এই কত?
একটা নক হয়েছিল আর কি। ওই যেটা নক হয়েছিল ওটা রিভাইভ করতেছিল তো অনেক ইয়ে করে দিছে।
ও চান্স ছিল তাহলে আপনার মিস করছেন।
ওই দুই বিচির একটা ঝামেলা, দুই বিচি ওই যে রিলোড নিয়ে নেয় কাজ করে না।
আমি দুই বিচিতে ছিলি নাই কারণ
কি ভাই
এই এটা কখন আছে? আরে আরেক পিছনে
পিছন দিক দিয়ে আসছে।
এখান থেকে যাও, এখান থেকে যাও।
এখান থেকে যা রাহা হো
জলদি আসে তো
এনে থাকলে মরুম।
3 3 6 7
আর
8
লাভে
9
বসো,
10
লাভে
11
বসো।
12 13 14 16 17 18
চান্স নেই, বাঁচাতে পারলে বাঁচাতে পারবো, না পারলে নাই।
ওইটাই আর কি।
সামনে সামনে
কিছু না, এরপর আবার রাগ করে ওঠে।
ভাই ঠিক করে ভাই লাইভ আসার চেষ্টা করো ভাই।
ওকে গাইস, তো আমরা দেখা যাক কি হয়। টোকেন টোকেন তো নাই, এটাই তো ঝামেলা। এখানে গ্লু মাইরা যদি পিছনে তো টোকেন আছে, এখানে গ্লু মাইরা যদি রিভাইভ দেওয়া যায় সেটাও তো এনিমি আইসা করতে পারে। দেখো তো গ্লু মাইরা বসা যায় নাকি, গ্লু আছে নাকি?
গুলো আছে, আমি এখানে বসবো, সমস্যা নেই।
Capturing the revival point.
Okay.
Succeed.
OP in the chat. Guys, OP in the chat হয়ে যাবে, OP in the chat.
আরে আমি নামে এনিমির মুখে বসে দূর